10, 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay, again. 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
Tú eres tan romántico molestando con una diva. Me preguntas si te quiero. Yo te digo que no estoy lista y no quiero comenzar. No hay nada que pensar. Yo te dejaré atrás. Mientras gano más y más. No estás en mi nivel y tú no eres obligación. No estás motivada y tú aburres mi corazón. Eres un idiota sin inteligencia y razón. Entonces déjame tranquila mientras escriba tu canción. Tú eres tan romántico molestando con una diva. Me preguntas si te quiero. Yo te digo que no estoy lista y no quiero comenzar. No hay nada que pensar. Yo te dejaré atrás. Mientras gano más y más. No estás en mi nivel y tú no eres obligación. No estás tú aburres mi corazón. Eres un idiota sin inteligencia y razón. Entonces déjame tranquila mientras escriba tu canción. Estoy aquí a disfrutar. Estoy aquí pero quiero gozar. Si quieres a mí pero vamos a bailar. Cintura a cintura, papi, tra, tra, tra. Bailando, gozando y me gusta tomar. Pero no quiero pendejos que no quieren respetar. Déjame pendejo, papi, ya no más. Déjame pendejo, papi, ya no más. Estoy aquí a disfrutar. Estoy aquí pero quiero gozar. Si quieres a mí pero vamos a bailar. Cintura a cintura, papi, tra, tra, tra. Bailando, gozando y me gusta tomar. Pero no quiero pendejos que no quieren respetar. Déjame pendejo, papi, ya no más. Déjame pendejo, papi, ya no más.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy Luis Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, live with you on a Thursday. Mi Gente show / Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito. Live on a Thursday. We are live from San Diego, California. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in. Go ahead and leave a like, a comment on the stream. If you see us scrolling by, if you're at your desktop, go ahead and leave that open on a tab. It helps us out. Even if you mute us, if you lurk, you are welcome to lurk and hang out, ask questions. We're talking beers, breweries, startups today. Sofia Carrillo, my co-host, is not here yet. She had a family medical dog situation happening. One of her pups is a little under the weather, so sending love to Cookie and her. She may or may not be able to hop in, but hey, I can handle an interview by myself. And today we are joined by the founder of Border X Brewing here in San Diego, California, historic Barrio Logan. This place has been around for several years, one of the best breweries right here in the land of good breweries. He also has a lot of work that he does in the community with women empowered and women-owned business, Mujeres Brewing, as well as some other projects he has ongoing in the entrepreneurial space with startups, small businesses. And I met him a couple of years back at the John Leguizamo event that he hosted for his comic book. I was one of the I did a small donation for that project, and I got to meet John Leguizamo, and I got to spend a little bit of time at the location, which is awesome. So joining us tonight to talk all things cerveza and life, Mr. David Favela.
Hey, what's going on, mi gente?
Hey, what's going on, David? See, I had to step my hat game up because you had yours on, and I was like, I can't let him outshine me.
Right
Had a fun.
on.
So thank you for coming on. Number one, let's get into it, man. Where did the passion for business start with you? Was it which were you like the kid with the lemonade stand? Did you have to go work in the coal mines early on, or where did this hustle start from at an early age for you?
Brother, I believe that there's some truth to being born with a certain, certain instinct. I remember when I used to go back to Mexico, to Durango, Mexico, with my dad and my family. And I used to have just the craziest business ideas. Like we'd see like these, the donkeys, out in the field. And I'm like, Pa, ¿de quién son los donkeys? It's like, mijo, they're nobodies. They're just out there. And I'm thinking, if I collect these donkeys and I resell them, maybe I could make a fortune.
Yeah, donkey Uber.
Donkey Uber. I even came up, my cousins and I organized them. We made some perfume out of some, or cologne, we thought, out of some rubbing alcohol and some flowers that were growing on a tree. And we just put them all together thinking we could make an essence out of that. And boy, did it stink. Rubbing alcohol never smells good, no matter how many flowers you put in there.
So were you born in Mexico? Were you born here and went back and forth? Were you like a border kid?
No, yeah, I was more of a border kid. I was born in the US, but we went back and forth. I thank my dad for renewing my cultural roots, like every summer going down there, running with my cousins up in the Sierra de Durango, riding horses, tending cattle. It was bomb. Best memories.
Was it because I know I grew up going back and forth between the US and Colombia and back and forth and stuff like that. Did you was it the thing when you were in Mexico that they made you speak English and over here they made you speak Spanish, or was it pretty fluid like language wise?
Well, no, when I was in the US, my parents really made it a point to learn English, but also to never lose Spanish. So when I went to Mexico, don't forget about it. I was surrounded by cousins and uncles, and you're the gabacho for the first few weeks when you're down there in the summer. But within 4 weeks, I had a certain level of fluency. It all had to just come back.
Yeah. Every time I went down to Colombia, I was always el gringo for a while,
Mhm.
and then it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you've assimilated.
Así es.
One of the I mean, a little segue here because this is something that recently has come up like in the kind of general conversation about Latinidad and Hispanic heritage months. All these topics get brought up, but there is kind of this ongoing conversation about like the newer generation of American Latinos, and not necessarily that maybe just like 1 in 4 are like fluent in Spanish or really speak a lot of Spanish. um, when I was growing up, my dad, one of my dad's things for was that, that he would say, well, those aren't real Latinos, or he would sort of get mad at people that we would meet that were Latinos in New York, but really couldn't speak English, couldn't speak Spanish and stuff like that. Do you think that there's any validity to that in terms of how that validates somebody's Latinidad or Hispanidad?
I don't know if language is the defining factor, whether have held on to your culture or not. Obviously, it's an important factor, but if I see people who have a genuine interest in their roots, I read what's that definition of Chicano? A person who has a non-Anglo perspective of themselves. And in
Mhm.
other words, they see themselves from a historical perspective and not just through the eyes of the United States. And I think that's way more important than the language, because if someone understands who they are and where they are and why they are, it's so much more important whether they can, you know, speak Spanish. But it's always good. It's like our cuisine, our traditions, our language. Some of us will hold on to all of it, some of us half of it, and some of us none of it. It happens in my own family. My younger sister doesn't speak Spanish, and my older brothers all speak with an accent. You know,
Right.
because they grew up in speaking Spanish. So even in my own family, we have the spectrum, but we all celebrate the culture. We all respect where we are and where we're from.
And then like somebody like myself, I was told that I spoke too white growing up as a teenager and stuff like that. So even though I spoke both languages, when I spoke English, I was being too, I was being too white in my sound. So
Yeah.
so I think it's important, and I think that it's important to respect the language, and I do believe that it is, it is a factor in culture and what the culture has, but I don't think it's the definitive point that defines whether somebody is Latino or Chicano or Hispanic or not.
No, and on that topic, when we did our own market studies of who our target demographic was, because we did want to appeal to a Latino, that was our target demographic, just like myself. What we really found was there was no one definition. In fact, we came up with a term for it. We call it a beautiful conundrum. In other words, Latinos are all of the above and more. They pick and choose from their own taste in music. They might love Morrissey or The Cure, and
Right.
they love Vicente Fernandez and can sing all his songs. And that's just what it means to be, this beautiful conundrum. We're all collecting, different things to make up our own identity. And I think that's an incredibly creative and innovative approach to living life, being able to pick and choose from both cultures, what you like about the US, but what you like about where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that you will run into as you are now also one of the part of the selection committee for the San Diego Latino Film Festival. One of the things that I ran into last year was that we would watch these films, and you can't tell who's Latino by their last name. You
Yeah.
could say, well, Favela and Martinez, those are pretty obvious, but you could have a Schwartz or a Smith, or there's a bunch of other Latinos with German last names, Swiss last names, etc. So I would watch a film and I would see it and I would be like, well, this isn't really a Latino story. The people on screen don't really, they don't scream Latinidad, and this is a conversation about people that are like, well, there's Latinos that are passing, and then there's Latinos that, like I'm a non-passing Latino. I can't all of a sudden act like I'm something else, right? So you would dig a little bit deeper and say, well, where is the Latinidad in the story, and is it really something that needs to be a part of the festival? And then sometimes they would have like an editor that was Mexican, or like a lighting person or something like that, and you would just be like, so you try to find yourself not in a position to judge Latinidad, but wanting to make sure that the submission is something that really falls within the boundaries of what the festival is trying to promote, which are either stories by Latinos, starring Latinos, or about Latinos.
Correct.
So you'll run into that as you start watching movies for the festival.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully this year, I think they added like a mission statement and like a thing that the filmmakers had to submit, which said that yes, either Latinos wrote this, directed this, or are part of this, or star in this, which is I think it's a fair way to start, the 30th annual San Diego Latino Film Festival. Submissions are now open for all my filmmakers. So move back and forth across the border. You have the donkey Uber idea early on. You start working that. What happens next? What gets you? What builds your business mind frame that you have till this day? Do you take business classes, or is it just all street hustle and learned?
Oh, brother. So my story is quite unique. My educational story, kind of in a nutshell, I started elementary school, failed second grade 3 times, got sent literally in the short bus across town to a special school, where I sat there with students who were truly mentally disabled or challenged. I mean, and it was all because no one spoke Spanish. I mean, the school I went to, there was no bilingual education. The IQ test was administered in English, so I didn't know what the hell they were asking me. And I still remember all of that stuff, and that's where my life could have ended. But I learned how to read on my own in the library of that school, and it just kind of took off from there. So I did, read like a madman, consumed everything I could get my hands on. And anyways, ended up going to getting my bachelor's degree at Chico State. Dean's List, straight A's, got a scholarship to Princeton to work as a Woodrow Wilson Fellow. Got my graduate degree from UCSD, and then just recently finished up a Stanford certificate program there for business. And that's my educational preparation. But you know what? I credit a lot of my hustle to is I worked at Hewlett Packard for 22 years in a variety of fields, from supply chain to new business development. And there was something I learned at HP in that corporate environment of how to take technology and make it into a business, right? Convert it into a product, test that product, refine that product, and launch it into the marketplace. And I used that exact same approach when I started Border X Brewing. There's a concept called MVP. And it's not most valuable player, it's minimum value proposition. It's just a process where you go about methodically developing your idea. And I don't think people understand, but there is no way in hell I could have come up with a business plan that said, hey, start a Chicano brewery, open up in Barrio Logan, and keep growing it. It was really, it was a step-by-step process where I learned a ton about our community. I learned a ton about our business, and we just kept developing it. So, education, but really that corporate experience and business development was a huge aid in kind of earning my chops.
So an autodidact that goes into the corporate world and learns the ropes.
Pretty much.
And
And who always had a predisposition to entrepreneurialism. I think it's one of the most powerful engines in any society, under whatever, structure you build it. Giving people the ability to create things and solve problems is huge.
yeah, no, I noticed that, not only are you doing your own work, but you're also helping other people, get off their feet and sort of creating environments where, you give people the bootstraps to pull themselves up from. Which is, I think, something that in the Latino community is not as easy, right? Because there's tons of stories of Latinos, Chicanos that are self-taught, self-made, but if you're being honest about the landscape, we do have a higher degree of difficulty to create these situations where something can grow from nothing. As important as it was for you to be able to start your own business, do you get the same level of excitement, emotion about running a successful business versus helping somebody start something up?
Equally. I've always been energized with ideas, and I have this ability to just kind of extrapolate a certain idea and test it. And, the way I think about it is I almost have like this 3-dimensional mind that can like grab an idea or a business concept, look at it, evaluate it, and it absorbs all my senses. I mean, I get really passionate. And even when I'm consulting or working with new business startups, I mean, they got 110% of my attention while we're talking. And I'm seeing kind of like the key things about that business that are going to make it successful or break it. And so I think, I love working with entrepreneurs. Now I have an opportunity to work with officially as a director of the Talent Foundry. I'm going to be working with the most promising, diverse founders in San Diego. It's going to be my full-time gig, and I couldn't be more excited.
Do you have the brewery on autopilot at this point where you can be a little bit more hands off? Is that kind of why it's opened you up for this?
Absolutely. We originally had a plan, rapid expansion plan to get to 6 tap rooms, and 2 breweries, making the beer to support them. But I'm calling a pause right now at 3, and we're not going to expand any further. We are going to explore canning, which is something we hadn't done before. And probably next year, I'll look at probably getting into more of the distribution side and, doing a few key beers out in the marketplace. But I don't want to sign any more leases. The pandemic kind of threw me for a loop, and I just want to take a break. And usually I'm a very, aggressive growth kind of guy.
Mhm.
So for me to say pause, it takes a lot.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a different time frame than it was 3 years ago. Well,
It is.
can you take us back a little bit to even further back when you decide to invest in a Chicano brewery and specifically the neighborhood at that time, sort of in flux between where it could sort of be gentrified or sort of community owned, et cetera, et cetera. What went into that whole process of choosing the location, choosing the project when you launched Border X?
Well, when I mentioned that it grew very organically under this MVP kind of methodology. An MVP is trying to strip down your business model to the bare essence so you can test it. And our MVP was open up a brewery in Otay Mesa in some warehouse space that we could get for $1 per square foot in the middle of nowhere. And there was no real strategic plan to grow it into anything. But we did make one key decision there, and this is a feature of our MVP, was we said, you know what? We're going to be Mexican-American brewers. I mean, we were doing Scottish ales, German Pilsners, all these like European beers, and we couldn't see ourselves in those beers. We couldn't, you can appreciate the traditions they have in the beers, but there's nothing of us or our childhood or anything about us in those beers. So we said, well, let's do it Mexican-American style. And my nephew went off and he brought back a blood red beer. It's beautiful, ruby red. Poured it for us. It was so red that the foam was pink. And I tasted it and I was like, holy crap, this is phenomenal. And it was an agua de Jamaica beer. And that's current our blood saison. I said, that moment, it crystallized in my mind. We are onto something. We've got to do this. Whatever happens, this is our destiny. We're going to contribute our own Mexican-American roots to the San Diego craft beer scene and maybe beyond.
I'm just saying, if for some reason I had some of that beer back here, I would keep it back here in the background all the time, just because I'm just putting it out there, David. So yeah, I was a little apprehensive about the agua de Jamaica beers, but once I tasted it, I was like, man, this is good. This is a good genre.
Well, it started opening up my eyes. People talk about colonial mindset, that we're told what's good. I never truly understood it until I started brewing beer. And then I really got it because I was looking at craft beer and it's like, well, where did the recipes come from? Who said what's good? Because we caught a lot of flack for brewing with our heart and our culture. And we didn't even do an IPA. We were just like, that's not us. And for the first few years, we do now. But we caught a lot of flack, and I think it was because we wanted to put ourselves into those beers. We wanted to see our culture. We wanted to connect with our customers who also shared the same culture. And that was a beautiful thing. Now we've got Pepino Sour, we've got Horchata Golden Stout. And, and so if I could answer your question, we did that. We learned two things when we were in Otay Mesa. One, brew with your heart, brew with your culture. But two, holy crap, our community, our craft beer drinkers, when we opened up on the first day, there was a line of like 50 people waiting to come in. And my brother and I, who had never tapped a keg like in years since college, we're like, holy crap, the beer's foaming. What do we do? How do we charge people? It was like a super big learning curve. But what we learned, the reason why so many people came, because the nearest brewery was like a 40-minute drive away. And so the whole concept of our communities not being served because people had preconceived notions that Latinos aren't going to like breweries. Latinos don't like craft brewery, and it's like bullshit.
Right. David, you're tapping your mic a little bit, just in case.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I mean, obviously, San Diego is one of the most competitive markets for breweries. If anywhere, North Park, etc. There's 3 on every block across the street from each other. It is a market that became saturated, and then there's the San Diego local breweries, and then there's the ones that are masked as a local breweries, but are actually owned by like huge conglomerates, right? There's the sort of, I know there's a Barrel something or other that people were against because it was kind of like, it's not really a local brewery, it's Budweiser, and they're masking themselves as a local brewery. How hard was it to navigate that sort of scene and competition here in this market?
It wasn't hard at all. And you know why? Is because you have to be different. Part of the reason we embrace Latino culture and Latino locations is we were the only ones. We're still kind of the only ones. There's no one kind of taking this approach. And, for those of you who are interested in recommended business reads, read this book called Blue Ocean. Basically states that if you don't play by the rules of the game and you redefine the game, you win. And so for us, trying to make the best IPA in San Diego was just trying to out IPA Green Flash, out IPA, Carl Strauss. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. So we said, no, we're going to be completely different. And that difference has made a huge impact on our business. I mean, I think our tap rooms are probably in the top 5 as far as visitors and sales. I think we're up there with the big boys, even though we're technically a tiny little brewery, to be truthful.
Okay, excellent. And do you feel that's kind of like comes from the startup mentality of being being disruptive? You know how the Lyft and
Absolutely.
is that what the okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
absolutely. No, being disruptive, that we staked out our space and we said we're going to be about this. We understand the Latino customer, the Latino palate. We know how we called ourselves an evangelizing brewery in the sense that, a lot of people, especially when we opened up in Barrio Logan, they would come to me and say, "Do you have Tecate? Do you have Modelo? Do you have, what beers do you have?" And we're like, "No, but try this." And
Right.
I'd hand them one of those little tasters, and they would be like, "Holy smokes, this is delicious!" And they would become diehard customers of ours. And because they can only get that beer at Border X, we just became a go-to for lots of really loyal customers. So I think my advice to any business person is don't play by the rules of the game. Be differentiated, do something different, and make sure that you're differentiated and you have a better chance of succeeding.
No, words to live by or to business by, right?
Exactly.
When you so was the community Barrio Logan pretty receptive when you showed up? At that time, you have like yourself, Barrio Dog, other businesses. There were art locations that were closing down. There were businesses that were getting pushed out of the area because of rent increases. Can you speak a little bit about the area when you arrived?
No, when we arrived, brother, that was 9 years ago, and Barrio Dog has only been around.
No,
I
well,
think.
yeah, I'm thinking more like over the last couple of years, but I'm saying so
Mhm.
you were there before this kind of everything started happening, right? Yeah.
Look, there were 3 of us there, and the only reason I went there is because Milo from Por Vida and Ernie from Salud San Diego Taco Company and Chris from La Bodega had tried my beer at an art gallery open that I did at Voz Alta, which was like a little underground art gallery there for Chicanos, and people loved it. And they invited me over and said, "Hey, you should consider opening up with us. If you know where Salud is." I did, and I opened up the tap room right where Ernie's dining area is. He had the kitchen, and Chris did La Bodega in the back, and that was the catalyst to really kind of test the waters and see what could be done, because everything else on the street was either boarded up and empty. We were kind of what got the whole ball rolling, and I'm proud of that because it wasn't just getting it rolling, but we've been active working together to try to mitigate the effects of being popular, the whole block kind of lifting up and trying to get, grassroots entrepreneurs in there. A lot of the big shops that are there have been divvied up into smaller studios. We did that on purpose. That wasn't an accident. That was Chris Sertuche from La Bodega creating artist spaces that were affordable. Incubators, if you will. That's what they are. And so instead of having to pay a $3,000 or $4,000, nut to rent a big spot, you just rent a small studio and you're spending maybe $300, $400, $500. So that's much more affordable to try to get in more Latino business people into those spaces. And we've worked with landlords to try to mitigate the impact when certain people, we don't control the world. So when certain
Right.
stuff happens, we try to mitigate it as much as possible. We have a philosophy of gentrification, which is very distinct from gentrification. But I think we've got to claim our spaces, brother. I mean, if not for us claiming those spaces and trying to manage them, what else would be happening right now?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think and I come from it more from because we talk a lot about there was a report that came out today that of the 8,000 hours of TV made over the last couple of years, there's a grand total of 9 Latino showrunners.
Yep.
and there's only maybe 2 or 3 Latino shows at any given point. And when 2 new ones get made, like this fool came on, but they canceled one day at a time, or you know, Gentrified gets canceled, but this one gets put on. So
Yep.
there is, and that's kind of where I'm the most active. Batgirl gets canceled with a Latina lead, as a $90 million write-off. So I think where I'm most active in that space is in that we need to be able to tell more stories from our own culture, from our own perspective. And what's most important to me is we need the ability to fail, because there's thousands of movies and TV shows that get created and they're ran or directed by mediocre, non-Hispanic directors. And I want us to get to the point where a Latino director can make a crappy movie and it's not the end of the world. We're judged by such a high mark where
Yeah.
everything we do has to be groundbreaking, earth-shattering, important, poignant. It has
Yeah.
to be. And I just want to make funny movies. I just want the chance to direct a funny movie, make funny movies, make stories. So from that perspective, I'm 100% on board with kind of claiming our own spaces. And I think the Latino community is doing a better job gradually of finding their voice and saying enough is enough. And we want more representation. We're 30-40% of the population. We go to more movies than anybody else. We love beer. We love spending money. We love to party. Give us the ability to be part of the conversation and to tell our stories and to sell our products.
Yep.
If you agree with that.
Oh, absolutely agree with that. And I mean, I think what people don't understand and why I chose to invest so much in the breweries and invest in entrepreneurs and do the job I do now, people do not understand that in California, 60% of the student body coming up is Latino. And there's a big difference. So sometimes when we talk about demographics, we talk about Latinos becoming the largest minority. And it's like, ooh, that's interesting. But there's a huge difference when you talk about the age of these demographics. So you have a much older white demographic aging out, and they're no longer the tastemakers, the innovators. They're retiring. These are real things that, like, these baby boomers, for example, are doing. And instead, you have this huge cohort of Latinos coming up who are going to demand content, movies, food, businesses that understand and vibe on whatever frequency they're on. And that's the real interesting thing, is what frequency are they going to be on? In my opinion, like I said earlier, Latinos are beautiful conundrums. They're like this interesting, you got a cholo goth person, who loves goth music, and there's all kinds of like really strange mashups of how you choose to be Latino, and it's totally cool. There is no one way to be a Latino anymore. And I think that was
Yeah,
true when I
absolutely.
was growing up, and now it's like, oh, you can be a Latino in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up in the '90s in New York, I was ashamed, well, not shame, embarrassed to say that I wanted to make movies, because it was like, motherfucker, you ain't gonna make no movies. Like, you need to just relax, Like, and so I was, I was laughed at for that. So I didn't really feel like I fit into a lot of the cool Latino culture at the time, because I was like into movies and art and poetry and stuff like that. And like I said, I was told that I spoke too white. But I think that we all got to get to a place where we're comfortable being who we are and not letting the word define us, but us define the word.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm Colombian, Uruguayan, but I'm entrenched in the Mexican American culture of Southern California for the last 20 years, and I love it, and I've been accepted by it. I call myself Big Chief Burrito, not because I wanted to, just because I love San Diego and I love burritos, and my company's called 2 AM Burrito. So, and like you said, it doesn't, I grew up listening to salsa, tango. My dad was a tango musician, and I went to an Iron Maiden concert on Sunday. So there's nothing really that should define what that is, other than just a people. We're not a monolith, as they say.
Well, I think my goal is, I think there was an assimilation model in the 50s of what it meant to become American. And it meant stop speaking your native tongue, stop making all that weird food, just eat like all of us eat. There was a strong push to conformity. And I think now, and because we're so many, we're defining the word now,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's why a new generation is looking even for a new term. I'm not crazy about Latinx. I know a lot of OGs don't agree with it, but I think it's that upcoming generation that's like, you know what, we're something new, and we want to define ourselves, and we need a new term.
Sorry, my dog was barking in the background.
No
Yeah,
worries.
yeah. The assimilation was all right. We'll let you put avocado on the hamburgers, but you gotta stop speaking that Spanish. But
Yeah.
usually it takes what 3 generations to fully assimilate into the culture. Um, yeah, we always talk about the Latinx issue or Latine, as some people like to say. I always try to use them or add them to my conversations because I feel that it doesn't. I mean, I will always identify as Latino, but I respect people's right to be identified as whatever they want, and it doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't hurt me anything. Saying Latinx does not erase Latinidad. It's more of a catch-all term, and yes, the media uses it, and it is portrayed as a woke term created by the media and scholars to sort of further define us. But I think I think that, like you said, the OGs get a little bit mad, but it's nothing. Just stand outside. It's not changing anything. It's not really hurting you.
No, and I think we do need to define a new what it means to be Latino, in the next 10 to 20 years. And the terms we've used in the past just don't make any more sense. Uh, used to be common to use the term Hispanic, right? There's even the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and it's just like Hispanic. I've never thought of myself as Hispanic. Um, Latino, and even the term Chicano.
Right.
Interesting story up in LA. I did Chicano Con, which is just a play on words, a Comic Con, trying to support the popular arts among Latino comic book writers and artists, and give kids a really cool experience. And someone left a suggestion in our suggestion box, if you can imagine, we have one. It said, Chicano, what is this, the 1970s? I mean, literally, kind of. I was like, oh, snap. I can't believe someone called me out on that. And I think it's because people still struggle. What the hell does Chicano even mean to the new generation?
Right. Yeah. Mexican Americans in LA, and a percentage of them which much rather prefer Chicano to Latinx, but then you have the younger generation that prefer the X. So obviously the X and Border X Brewing did not come from Latinx, obviously.
No. In fact, just to be very clear and set the record, X is a metaphor for crossing, and X is a metaphor or a stand-in for anything. So it's really about crossing borders because we were on the border.
Right.
But it's also crossing borders between cultures and communities, bringing together our LGBTQ community, people of color community. Yeah, exactly. And, breaking down some of those borders that have been separating ourselves, and in our own Latino, Latinx community. There's no reason to tear ourselves apart. And, the real interesting thing is the folks in the LGBTQ community of color, they're like, yeah, we feel welcomed in, Hillcrest and whatnot, but not as welcome as when we can come into our own community and be welcomed and accepted by people that we grew up with. And it's really powerful. And I'm glad that Border X and Mujeres stand side by side with with all our brothers and sisters.
I know Sophia was excited to talk about, she identifies as bi as well, and it is Bi Visibility Month. So we were going to talk about that, but she's busy, so we will touch on that at a later date. But yeah, absolutely. We're shout out to the whole LGBTQ community and them having a place. Because there's a difference. There's even in San Diego, you have your Mexican Americans, your foreigners, your people that grew up in TJ, your people that identify as just Mexican, people that identify as Chicanos, and a mix of the two. And then you even have the 2 or 3 generations in that sort of, there is that percentage of the Latino community which I've had issues with in the past, that sort of become the that's like, okay, I got in, let's close the door behind me, which I'm not a big fan of. And they're sort of been like hardcore assimilating, where they almost feel like they're not Latinos anymore. They're like, no, we're Americans now.
Yeah.
And so, and you people need to stay on the other side of the border, which I think is a little sad from my perspective. But that's just that's like I said, we're not a monolith. The Latino and Hispanic culture is made up of thousands on the spectrum, and we have different beliefs. You know, right wing, left wing, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree, and I don't like making value judgments on anybody, but for someone to have to abandon everything that made them who they were in order to feel accepted into a new society,
Yeah.
there's just something inherently wrong about that. You know, I think I challenge that assimilation model. I think we have the unique opportunity to bring the best of what it means to be Argentino or Mexican or Guatemalan or Honduran and share it. I mean, don't you feel blessed that you can be in the United States and eat German apple pie and,
Absolutely.
European sausage and Italian pizza and Ethiopian, this and Thai curry? I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone back to Mexico or Argentina or anywhere, but those countries aren't as diverse, even though they're Mexico, for example, where I went back to live for 3 years. I couldn't get good sushi. I could get Mexican sushi, the deep fried breaded
Yeah,
kind with cream cheese, but I couldn't get the legit kind, and even the Chinese food hits different down there. So
yeah. Yeah, and that's and you go to Mexico, and there's Chinese culture in Mexico, and as
sure.
well. Yeah, no, as somebody who identifies, well, I'm Colombian and Uruguayan. So first,
Yeah.
I got the tattoos because I was like, when I first was, well, I'm not Mexican. I want to be able to people to know that I'm Latino. But now it's like, yeah, the border X, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's why I got it, so I could get on the dance floor with the throw the bows, you know. Um, but yeah, I've lived in Colombia, I've lived in Uruguay, and I've lived here, and I've lived in Mexico. So I've been across, and I do agree with you that's the part of the culture that pisses me off the most. That they assimilate to the point where they don't realize that what they're fighting against is the reason that they hear, and that they do have the ability to assimilate. That the thought process of I got in, I'm going to close the door behind me, and immigration is one of my biggest issues politically. In that I feel that it's used as a topic to help fundraise, but it's something that they don't never really want to fix, because it just makes people think, oh yeah, we're the, not to get political or whatever, but we're the party of immigration, but nothing. It's the one thing where, like, you could fix the problem at any point you want, but then you wouldn't be able to raise money and campaign on it. Kind of
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel about that. So moving on to so you open up in Otamesa, or right, or what was the first one in
Yeah, the first one was on Otay Mesa. Within 2 months, I was signing a lease on the Barrio Logan spot.
wow.
But even then, I wasn't sure if it was going to work. It was only a 6-month lease. And once that 6-month lease was up, we moved across the street because I had more confidence in the business, and it was a much larger spot where we are today.
Mhm.
Within 2 years, we moved up to LA and opened up a much larger brewery up there. And in 2020, during the pandemic, we purchased another brewery, Mujeres, and named it Mujeres. So yeah, we've been busy.
How was that process, and did you make a conscious effort to go into woman-owned business with Mujeres, or when did that idea start to germinate for you?
Oh, the idea germinated when we looked at our analytics. When we look at social media followers, credit card data, everything we could get, and it basically told us that 60% of our customers were female. Which I don't know how much you know about craft breweries, but that's kind of unheard of
Yeah.
to have that kind of traction with female customers. And I think they liked us both because the flavors, the beers, the cultural context where they could come in and watch music, see art. Like, there was so much more, I think, that Border X offered a female customer than most craft breweries, to be honest. And when we saw that, my wife said, "You know what? Let's start a women's Mujeres Brew Club." And it was about educating females about brewing and technology and all that kind of stuff. And that blew up. Like, the first class she held, she was thinking maybe 20 will come, and then that sold out. Then it was 40, then it was 60, and then they're like, okay, we can't have more than 60 women in our tap room. And it just kept growing, and they were doing it all the way up to the pandemic. They even spread out to Los Angeles, and it was equally popular there. Women are just looking for the opportunity to come to a welcoming environment at a brewery and really enjoy themselves. And so when the pandemic hit, we had to cancel the brew club. And my wife right there, Carmen, said, she was joking. She goes, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could just buy that brewery over at Bread and Salt? And I was like, well, why not? And we called the owner after that kind of like short conversation, and we pitched him on the idea, and he was speechless. He was like, David, I have a huge smile on my face. Send me your proposal. I drafted a proposal, sent it to him that night. He was reading it in his bed, he and his wife, and he said they could hardly sleep. They were so excited to meet with us the next morning. We met with him the next morning, and they're like, here are the keys. You're going to do this project. It was like really incredible, to be honest. It was one of those things, that just feels like it had to happen. And we made it happen. And I think the industry, the community, everyone just loves Mujeres. And it makes sense. It's the only female managed and soon all female owned craft brewery in San Diego.
Wow.
So, the whole idea is to really, I think the craft beer scene needs a makeover. It needs diversity. It needs a little more color, a little more femaleness into the mix. And that's what they're doing. And in fact, my wife was invited to the Smithsonian this month of October in Washington, D.C., where she'll be included on a whole display about Latinos in craft brewing. And so they're going to be honored out there. And they've been in so many articles and magazines. And it just makes sense. When those things just make sense and they fall together.
Kismet.
Kismet.
Absolutely. Which leads you to have the ability to sort of jump into this entrepreneurial startup space where we're not necessarily where you've done the brewery thing, you open up the woman-owned brewery, you expand to 3 locations, you put a pause on that, but now you start to focus a little bit on the types of small businesses that you can help get a leg up. Like I said, sort of provide the bootstraps for people that have been told to use their bootstraps, right?
Yeah. The most challenging thing is Latinos are one of the hardest working, most entrepreneurial people you'll ever find. Like, someone with no money will figure out how to start their business or go hustle their services. The problem we have is that we haven't developed the mindset and the network of people who can invest in us. In startups, they talk about friends and family being your first source of capital. And unfortunately, I don't know about your friends and family, but between my friends and family, we can barely put together a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
Whereas, another demographics, their friends and family, I know a brewery I won't name, that I looked at their financials, and they got $3 million from just their dad, brother, and sister. I mean, that was just family, not even friends. I was like, Jesus. And I think that's what I want to tackle is I want to work with Latinos who have big ideas, who have ganas, and want to hustle a business from an ideation through those first few hurdles of building their business case, their business pitch, their MVP, and then being able to actually go in front of investors and get those investors, or a bank if they're trying to follow the traditional debt route. And that's just something we as Latinos don't do. They don't teach us how to do those kinds of things. But there are networks building. I belong to the Stanford Latino Business Action Network, and they're an incubator. So they help me keep my business afloat and growing during the pandemic. But there are all kinds of organizations out there. I'm even working with Google and Meta and all kinds of other organizations that are putting resources out there to help Latino and African-American and female-owned breweries out there. Breweries, businesses, I should say.
Hey, a little bit of both.
No,
so
I'm excited.
I really appreciate the fact that you're in that space and you're helping out the community, because I mean, and again, from the perspective that I'm coming from, there's these programs out there for filmmakers, but it's basically very condescending. And like, for example, I entered a contest for, a network that won't be named, but it sounds like socks. And there was a fake incubator thing, and they're like, we're gonna have you come out to North Carolina for a month and shadow a director on a TV show. And I was like, no, I don't need that. I just need you to put me in a room with somebody that I can pitch my ideas to. They're like, no, but you have to come out and learn how to direct. And I was like, no, I've directed 2 SAG features. I've directed 12 short films that have gotten into festivals. I don't need you to tell me how to direct. I need you to say, there's this movie. Would you like to direct it? Come talk to us about it. What would you do with this script? And I feel that comes from a place where, unfortunately, the art that I've chosen, that I'm passionate about, is one that is more catered to somebody that comes from an elite background, because and now it's been a little bit more evened out because of camera equipment and stuff has gotten cheaper, and you're able to do stuff like that. But for the longest time, it's you hear all these stories about these affluent people that didn't really have to worry about making the next paycheck or paying rent. And all they had to worry about is their script, because daddy was paying the bills. And then when they turned 25, they made this incredible movie. But it's also because they didn't have all these years of colonialism and pain and struggle and literally no money on top of them. So I'm proud of what we've accomplished with literally $0 and zero funding. But I'm also not an up and coming filmmaker, which a lot of these newer programs are for. I'm a 45-year-old filmmaker, so I get judged side by side with every other filmmaker there is.
Sure.
So there is this weird sort of area of, there are these programs, but a lot of them seem like they're just trying to check boxes. Like, yes, we talked to 30 Latinos and we sent 5 of them to shadow directors, and yay, we did our job. Inclusion, you know what I mean? And
Check the box.
check the box. So I do feel that, and I know John Leguizamo is doing some stuff, and Fanny Grande, and and then there's other organizations, other studios that are popping up here and there. And I don't know if I'll be able to see the shade of those trees, but that's kind of the reason that I like being part of the festival and stuff like that, because I would be just as happy if I can help younger filmmakers, younger Latino filmmakers come up and get through those doors, because I'm going to keep making movies till the day I die. It's my art. It's what I love. But it is a struggle out there. So I'm glad that you're out there and that there's other people, and that those resources are building up to sort of help more people rise all tides, because they're out here all across multiple industries.
Yeah.
We're out here trying to tell our stories, trying to make our products, trying to start businesses.
Well, I just and I know Fanny from Avenida Productions.
Mm-hmm.
So are you familiar with the whole crowdfunding, equity funding?
Yeah, equity.
Yeah, it's not just donations, right? You can sell equity in your company or in the profits of your company. I raised $200K to open up the LA brewery online. So I personally believe, and what gets me really excited is that I think there are ways of mobilizing and organizing Latino capital to create the businesses, the products, the films that we want made. And I think you're a filmmaker, so you know the power of persuasion that movies and video content can do. I think Fanny and her husband are doing some incredible work trying to pioneer that business model, specifically to challenge what you just talked about, the lack of access and equity. I mean, what is that? James Franco is going to play Fidel Castro now? Jesus Christ. Well, what does a Latino got to do to catch a break,
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a little two-faced about that, because I was pissed about Franco, but I'm 100% okay with Ana de Armas playing Marilyn Monroe. So,
that's true. It can go a little way. It can go the opposite way a little while before it gets equal.
It's an overcorrection.
Correct.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the avenue that we'll go down when we start, like I said, we've been sort of dormant for the last couple of years. But that's the avenue that we will go down for when we start funding for our next projects. is, equity and trying to sort of, that's what I've been trying to do the last couple of years is build connections, have interesting conversations, learn from people about different aspects of business. That's why I'm very happy to learn, about startups and sort of get some insight from people like yourself that are more learned in that space. Because I feel like, that there is a possibility. And I feel that our company has the track record of having been able to do so much with so little that if we say, hey, I need 50,000 to make a feature film, that's it's going to have a mostly Latino cast, that I think I should be able to reach that,
Yeah, I think you could. I think 100,000, 250,000. It just comes back to how great is the idea or the concept or the proposal, and how many faces, ears, eyes can you get it in front of?
Yeah, I've always said, get me in a room. Because I said, I'll get in there. I'll sell something. We are talking live with David Favela from Border X Brewery, Mujeres Brew House. He's also starting up, working with organizations here locally that will help San Diego small businesses get on their feet, get on the right path to funding, which I think is an incredibly important job. It's definitely a labor of love that we're doing. When did you start getting into the event space for Border X? Was that just kind of like we have the space, let's start getting some events here? I know you guys have the Loteria nights. You started having concerts or little events here and there.
Well, we started from the very beginning. Our grand opening was on like November 2nd, Dia de los Muertos. So, we had artwork. We knew that culture was always going to play a part of expressing ourselves. But, honestly, where I would love to take our events and what I'm trying to push is I'm trying to create a space for our culture to thrive and define itself from an identity perspective. And I know that's pretty lofty, but if you look at any major social movement, they all have physical locations where they coalesced and came together. Whether it was the French Revolution and the cafes with all the intellectuals talking about, what they wanted to do with their government, to CBGBs in New York City, well, you might probably familiar with,
Yeah, I've been there.
which is one of the cradles of the punk rock movement. There's a physical location where people come together with similar ideas and values and reinforce each other and create a vibe and an energy that begins to coalesce and kind of reverberate out, from a cultural pop culture perspective. And in my wildest dreams, I would love Border X to be a space like that, where we can support musicians, where we can support, artists, where we can support all of these people who are cultural. What's the right word? They're working with the culture. They're trying to redefine what does it even mean to be, where we started our conversation, Latino.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What
Right.
parts do we keep? What parts do we get rid of? What parts do we add to ourselves?
Like a
And
tastemakers almost, or like I don't want to say
Absolutely.
influencer. Yeah. Oh, okay.
The way
Do you
we
think
dress, the way we talk, what we like, all
Do you
those things are, I think, the beginnings of a cultural wave.
do you think that's still a physical space, or you think in some ways that's moved into like a virtual sort of online realm?
I think the online realm is absolutely very effective in helping throw out proposals of being Latino means dressing like this or acting like that. But at the end of the day, I still think real life is real life, and engaging with people who are from the same perspective just reinforces, I think, that community or sense of identity. And maybe I'm just being a little too lofty, in my thought process, or maybe I'm too early. But look, I'm telling you, those 60% of those young people coming up through the education system, they will define culture. They will define music. They'll define entertainment. They will have a biggest impact on our society in the next 10, 15 years.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Well, David, I wanted to touch on a couple of little things before we let you go.
Sure.
The NFL put out this logo with the Por la Cultura, where they added the Ñ to the N. And they literally said the shield integrates the unmistakable Latin flavor. So how do you feel about the pandering that goes on during Hispanic Heritage?
It's awful. It's awful. You know, in the brewing industry, the whole infatuation with Mexican lager,
Yeah.
I can't stand it. There is no such thing as a Mexican lager. It's just what we grew up drinking with in Mexico, but there's no Mexico cultural content in that beer. And there are even breweries now that are catering to Latinos. I won't be named, just not to be a hater, but their tagline is the original Mexican American beer. And they are owned by a billionaire, white billionaire from Newport Beach. And almost everyone in the management structure is not Latino. And it's just
I don't
like,
believe it.
yeah, yeah. I'll send you the
Yeah.
info separately because I just don't like being a hater in that way.
No, that's
But I
fine.
look at that. What's that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll keep it
Yeah,
PC.
and it's like, oh, come on, stay in your own lane. We have so little that when people try to appropriate our culture and our identity and our, it doesn't feel like they're honoring us. It just feels like they're trying to figure out how to take more money out of our pocket.
DC Comics blundered by adding tamales and plátanos fritos to some of their DC comic covers, basically bringing us down to tacos as and I mean, my company's called 2 a.m. Burrito, but that's because it's a San Diego thing, and I really wanted our company to be like a San Diego thing. And if you're in New York, you get a slice of pizza, a hot dog. If you're in TJ, you get tacos or bacon wrapped hot dogs. If you're in San Diego at 2 a.m, you get a burrito. But I think that the culture is more than our food. So the fact
Absolutely.
that they changed this epic to a guy with a bag of tamales was again a bit of a misstep.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And also, well, this was a funny one, but oh no, Barbie Dia de los Muertos is back, and she's not alone.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with some of that stuff. There is a fine line between pandering and being a powerful reinforcer of identity.
Right.
I was watching a video, or even like that. I think there are similar. That looks so weird, but there was this video of these young African American girls seeing the first black mermaid.
The mermaid, that video, absolutely.
And I gotta be honest, those little girls lost their minds. They were just like, "Mom, the mermaid's black, like me."
Yeah.
And you know what? So is that pandering or is that really a positive, beautiful thing?
Yeah, it's a positive, beautiful thing because 99% of Disney movies are lily white, and this is something that doesn't exist. It's not based on a real life character. It's nothing. It doesn't cost them anything to let those people. It doesn't cost them anything to let those little girls have that, and people are so mad about it, and that's just dumb. This one I just thought was funny. Oh, sorry, go ahead, David. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I thought this one was funny for Latino Heritage Month. Watches blood in, blood out once.
Hilarious.
No, but I absolutely agree with you that look, I always tell this story. When I was a kid in the 80s growing up, my name is Martinez, and there was always this commercial on TV, and it was about, I don't know what it was, but I was like, me tratas como un Martinez cualquiera. And I was like, because Luis Martinez is like basically the Kevin Smith of you know what I mean? Like just like a common Latino name. And I remember very vividly watching my TV and seeing LA Law come on. And I just remember very vividly that the actor A. Martinez was on LA Law. And I think I have a chance to have him on the pod at some point. But I remember that it was CBS or NBC or whatever, but I know it was American television. And I saw on the screen A. Martinez. And I was a little kid. It was like 1980 something. And I just remember that meant something to me. And I wasn't even seeing myself on screen. I was just seeing my last name on an American TV show. And it had to mean something because I remember that to this day. So just seeing my own name on the screen and thinking it's a possibility that someday my name could be. And then when I did my first full feature, and it said, and I was at the San Diego Latino Film Festival, and it said written and directed by Luis Martinez. And I was just like, fuck, like I am a director, so that is important to me. And also, full circle again, in 1997, I came out to visit my mom in San Diego. I had graduated high school in New York. We went to see a movie at Fashion Valley. 15, 17 years later, I saw my own movie with my mom at the same theater in Fashion Valley. So that was a big full circle. which is to say, these little black girls seeing themselves represented, and little Spanish girls seeing themselves represented and stuff, and little brown and black boys seeing themselves is an important thing. And it is nothing compared with the vast majority of white-based cinema and TV that has been produced for literally since the start of cinema, where we couldn't play ourselves, indigenous people couldn't play themselves. So yes, there will be some overcorrection to what has been 99% of the history of cinema, and you're just going to have to get over that shit.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of effort. When I saw some, I don't know, colonial or in England royalty, African American princes and it's kind of like, come on, there's so many beautiful stories to tell from the African American perspective that, like you said, the overcorrection does happen, and that part, even with the positive role modeling, I can't even see beyond it.
And as a filmmaker, and this is weird for me because as a filmmaker, I believe everybody should be able to cast whoever they want in their movie for whatever reason. And so because it's your art, but I just feel that people should really think about the process to make sure they feel clean about it because I think that's important.
And I'd just rather see original stories about us and our culture. I mean, I'm still waiting. And it's incredible that Mel Gibson, of all people, would make probably one of the most historically accurate, pretty badass movies of all time with, what was that called?
Apocalyptico.
Yeah,
one of the best chase movies of all time.
Oh, phenomenal. I still watch it and it's fresh. What is it, 10, 15 years later?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm still waiting to see some directors, Latino directors, really explore the incredible pre-Columbian history of Mexico and South America, of even the interaction between the Spaniards and the indigenous tribes. I mean, there's just so many incredible stories and scenarios. I mean, the temples weren't gray; they were covered with white and colorful, designs. No one's ever done it justice, to be honest.
No, absolutely. If you watch, I got to watch this at the festival a couple of years ago, but there's a documentary called 499, which talks about the last 500 years of colonialism in Mexico, and it really sort of juxtaposes and really brings to bear like the effects of that colonialism over 500 years into Mexico today, and a lot of the issues. And you don't really realize, and I've had people come on to talk about colonialism and the fact that we don't really know when it's affecting us sometimes because it is so ingrained, it is so deep into our culture, and that has been affecting us for so long that sometimes we're not even aware of that we are being led by it.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's insidious. It's integrated. It's just there.
All right, we're getting a little militant here with David Favela from Border X Brewing, but hey, what's up? Mi Gente show. We have to do it the right way. Why not? White people have all tuned out. I'm just kidding. We have a wide, vast audience. Thank you, everybody that's listening. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. I see people coming in and out. Thank you for everybody that's watched and supported us. We'll do one other thing with our guest every show. David, can you let us know just is there a link, or is there somewhere where people can sort of find out more about this entrepreneur program and the startup program if they have an idea that they want to help germinate? Or is there are there applications, or how does that happen?
Yep, great question. Thank you for asking. Just Google UCSD Talent Foundry, and it'll be the first hit. And there will be an intake form on there. It's very short: name, phone number, email, just a little bit of a narrative of where you're at, what you're about. And we will follow up on every message that's sent to us. We are aggressively looking to identify 100 of the most promising companies, startups to work with.
Got it. 100 companies. That's good. That's ambitious. I like it.
It is. If I can help more, I would, but I think it's going to be kind of intense.
Yeah, 100 people. Yeah, I'm glad the brewery's on autopilot if that's the case.
Well, I'm not the only one, so we're building the team, and there'll be a few more of us. So And you know, the real cool thing is this isn't an in and out. It's not like we take your hand for 2 weeks and then we cut you loose and wish you the best. I am going to be their business advisor for until they get their funding and until they begin scaling, and they can still come back as alumni and be friends. But you know, then we got to work with the next person that's going to replace their spot.
Oh, absolutely, man. You're doing great work out there. I do appreciate you taking the time. I hope that it's okay for me to pick your brain moving forward on some of the stuff that we'll be doing. As I said, you
Absolutely.
know, I totally respect what you're doing in the community. We are a small company, and we could always use advice and help on how to kind of take the next steps out there to when we start getting more serious. Well, when we start the process of the new projects and stuff like that, I'd love to be able to reach out and hit you up about stuff like that.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to.
Absolutely.
And you know, the thing is to remember, we're doing everything from biotech and life sciences all the way to the most humble business you can imagine. And, you know, small startups. I wanted to make sure I can tackle the big, really complex technology stuff all the way to Doña Maria making tamales out of her certified kitchen in Southeast San Diego, you know? I think there's
Absolutely.
a lot of learnings and support that we can put together.
Or my idea of the 2 a.m. burrito truck, which stands outside bars and sells burritos at 2 a.m, you know? But the thing is that they're gourmet burritos, David. They're
That's the
gourmet.
difference.
Yeah, it's like potatoes and stuff. Just kidding. All right, no, that's old business
You use
idea.
truffles, right?
Yeah, truffles. I mean, like a mac and cheese burrito. You know, like a lot of like cool stuff like that. You know, fancy burritos at 2 a.m. That's my long-term goal right there. All right. Well, we have been chatting with David Favela from Border X, Mujeres Brew House. And again, the startup program that he just spoke about. He's doing a lot of great stuff in the community. Go have a beer at Border X. Go check out Mujeres. Check out the information for the startup program that he's doing here. We're looking for 100 companies. I know Sophia said we should do a live show at one of your breweries at some point coming up. Perhaps that's something that we might be able to do.
Absolutely.
Get some guests at there, a live show from the brew house or something. That might be cool.
Yeah.
That was her suggestion. Hopefully she well, maybe it was my suggestion. I'm just saying it's hers. No, she had the idea. She said, hey, we should do a live show from there sometime. I said, yeah, eventually we should. All right. And I said, I have one more thing that I like to do with our guest, David, and that is something that we like to call the bracket bit.
All right, boys, you guys know what that sound means. It's time for bracket bit. Bracket bit. Bracket bit. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bracket bit. Bracket bit. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Fireside Chats.
That's right, David. It is time for bracket bit. It's the end of the interview, which means I can relax. I can light up because I don't have to be on point anymore, because I don't have to focus, and we can start the process of the bracket bit. The bracket bit is created to cause maximum pain. You are a founder, and you are involved with startups, and you are involved with beer. So what I have chosen this for your bracket bit is going to be beers versus startups. I'm going to give you a famous startup and a famous beer, and you're going to tell me which one moves on to the next round. Now you can say which of these is more disruptive, which one of these is more of your favorite, which one you wish you would have founded or you would have brewed. You can use whatever methodology you want. I just ask that you try to use the same methodology through the entire bracket. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
One of the originals, Airbnb or Budweiser?
Airbnb.
Airbnb moves on. Heineken or Snapchat?
That's hard. Heineken.
And if you want to expand on any of these, like how you think they're cool, disruptive, or horrible, you can always expand. That's why we didn't really talk about much of these.
Yeah, absolutely. So Heineken, staying power. I've been to their brewery in Amsterdam. It's pretty amazing place. Snapchat, here and gone.
Here and gone. They had a moment in the sun and they were gone. Guinness or SpaceX?
Damn. Well, Guinness is hardcore, but SpaceX. You ever see one of those rockets land back on Earth? That's amazing. So SpaceX.
SpaceX going with the boy Elon on this one
Yeah.
versus the horrible Guinness beer. I'm sorry. I am a Rolling Rock pale ale type of guy. I don't like the thick, and I don't like IPAs.
Yeah.
Just
No worries. We got
all
a
right.
beer for you.
Yeah, no, yeah. There is a beer for me. Yeah. All right, we got Pinterest and Corona.
Corona sucks. Pinterest.
You're not a Corona guy?
God, no. That reminds me of spring break during college. That was the last Corona I had.
All right. Oh, what is it? Vin Diesel would be from Fast and the Furious would be mad at you. All right, Netflix Blockbuster declined the offer to buy Netflix for like $9 million a long time ago, and it cost them that. Or this is a beer I like, Blue Moon.
I mean, the beer is okay, but Netflix is just their monster, you know? Moved into streaming. They successfully transitioned different technology phases. Absolutely Netflix.
And in essence, everything's going full circle because the theory is that now Netflix is going to go back to a weekly model on some of their shows as opposed to a binge model. So
Oh, really?
it's funny that they were the disruptors, but now they're like, everything that is old will be new again, right?
Yep.
All right, Angry Birds. They had like 18 different versions of their app before it actually blew up. Or Foster's, Australian for beer.
Be honest, I don't like any of those two. But I guess someone's got to move forward. So I'd say Angry Birds.
Right. Sculpin and IPAs in general, or Uber.
Uber. So I'm sensing definitely a technology bias here.
All right. MailChimp or Sierra Nevada.
Wait. What happened? Oh, there it is. MailChimp. Sierra Nevada. Are you kidding me? I went to Chico State. That's the home of Sierra Nevada. They're OG.
Sierra Nevada. WhatsApp, preferred by drug dealers everywhere, or Sapporo.
I don't get WhatsApp. I'll go Sapporo.
It's all about the encryption, I guess, really. It's
I guess.
it's the fact that they can auto delete your messages is basically the main thing for that, so you don't have to worry about it. Instagram, or one of my favorite beers locally, AleSmith 394.
I've had AleSmith 394. It's a good solid beer, but nothing out of the ordinary. I'd say Instagram.
What's the equivalent for you for Border or Mujeres? Or like
Of that beer?
Or like a pale. I mean, I'm a pale ale guy, so
Probably our Santos. That's an amber ale. It's pretty close. I actually just had it today. Very, very delicious.
Got it. And we go with Tecate or LinkedIn.
Oh, damn. I'm going to have to pull out my Raza card. Tecate.
Tecate, Negra Modelo, or Facebook.
Facebook.
All right.
They're a monster.
Square, now used by hustlers everywhere. When you say I don't have any cash, it's okay, brother. I got the Square here. You can.
I got you covered.
I got
Dude,
you
we
covered.
run our whole business off of Square. It's incredible. I'm all for it.
Or Rolling Rock.
Nope, never had Rolling Rock. Never wanted to.
Latro PA 33. Come on. Give yourself a chance. It's the best cheap beer out there as far as right. Twitter, or what my friend calls the best morning beer, Coors Light.
Two things I never liked. I think I started drinking with Coors Light. I have Twitter, never use it. Coors Light.
Coors Light. I mean, honestly, I know that for some reason I think that San Diego is more of an Instagram, Facebook city than Twitter, but I've made so many connections. Like for example, we actually you got name dropped on a previous show. I sent you the clip.
Yep.
The homie from LA, Big Brown Dad. He's doing with Norwalk Brewery. I met him. I've met movie reviewers. I've met tons of guests. I got to have an actor from The Wire, the Center for the Jets. All of the people I've met all through Twitter. So really? I think there's I think that there is an underuse. I'm even running the Twitter account for the San Diego Film Festival because I think that it's something that specifically Latinos are underusing. In my opinion. So I would give it a second look because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of cool people to connect with, and I found a lot of community through there.
And it's fast. That's how I found out Coolio died.
Yeah. Pandora or Dos Equis?
Holy shit! I stopped listening to Pandora years ago. Dos Equis.
Fat Tire or DoorDash?
Fat Tire.
Fat Tire. Are you a fan of those like super strong, powerful beers?
Yes, it depends on my mood. My go-to beer is Pepino Sour. It's crisp, refreshing, crushable. Sometimes I'll get a nice IPA. If I'm having food like I had today, the Santos Amber Ale was on point. Just really depends. And during winter when it's nice and cold, getting a big abuelita's chocolate stout, maybe putting a little brandy in it or something.
There you go. When you were talking earlier about possibly canning, are you going to do some tall boys or some 6-packs? What do you some maybe like bottles, or you're not sure yet?
Well, we're canning now. I bought a canning line beginning of the year, and we've been canning, not huge volume, because when you talk about distribution, it's like on a whole nother level. But we do can, and they're 16 ounce.
Okay.
So yeah. So no, we want to make like huge volumes. You've got to go big. You got to go big.
You got to
make it work.
You got to get after it. All right, moving right along. We got Airbnb or Heineken.
Airbnb. I just love it. I hate the negative social consequences, but I also love renting a place and staying there, like Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I think that like anything, when it becomes over commercialized, that issues start to pop up, because when everybody sees that there's profit in Airbnb, then you have all these corporations that are buying up properties all over different neighborhoods, and then the rents goes up because spaces become less available, and then these houses just sit there empty, except for the one guy that shows up for so so it is kind of like a mix. So I think it's moved it's moved so far over that now you're like, hey, maybe a hotel will actually be cheaper and stuff like that.
It's true. It's true.
Everything that is old will be new again. SpaceX or Pinterest?
SpaceX. Pinterest will be gone soon. SpaceX is like, whoa, that'll change the future.
Were you nerding out on the NASA asteroid hit the other day?
I missed the whole thing. I saw excerpts of it, but I didn't follow it too closely.
They spent like $300 million on a test because they wanted to see if they could knock an asteroid off its course. It was a success. They somehow aimed it from here 70,000 miles away, and they hit it. But I think this means that there's absolutely a giant asteroid heading our way, and they're just not telling us about it. So
probably foreshadowing.
You said Netflix, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I know you didn't like Angry Birds. Okay, Uber or Sierra Nevada?
Sierra Nevada for the win.
Sapporo or Instagram?
Instagram. They're still fucking dominant.
What's the best non-Japanese beer to drink with sushi?
Non-Japanese, that's a tough one. I always do Sapporo or Asahi. Singha, well, that's Thai. That's a Thai beer.
So you think it's got to be an Asian beer? You think?
I think so. It's just lighter, crisper. They use rice in making those beers. They hit different.
Cool.
Or else you'd have to go with a lighter beer, American beer, and I'd hate to say it, like a Coors or something.
The correct answer was Miller High Life.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you mean you don't got Sapporo? What happened? Okay. Tecate or Facebook?
OG Tecate for the win. Yeah, they're there. I've been to their factory. It's pretty cool.
Square or Coors Light?
Oh, Square, without a doubt.
Dos Equis or Fat Tire?
Fat Tire, without a doubt.
Fat Tire or Square?
Square. Did you know they do business loans?
No.
Like, I applied and got a big chunk of change, and they just take it out of your payout. It was incredible. Super fast, super convenient. Anyways, Square.
How do you have you ever been involved with, or are you these programs that are mostly for like African nations or South American nations where they do the ultra micro loans? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what got me into economic development. Was in India. They were doing, it's called the Grameen Bank, and they were really doing really exciting loan programs, micro loans. They pioneered that whole micro loan concept. So when I was at Princeton, that was a big deal back then.
Oh, you were Princeton. Nice.
Yeah.
East Coast.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Cheesesteak sandwiches. That would win this whole category.
No. What were you a Geno's guy, or what was your go-to?
Oh no, we went to a little hole in the wall near campus. I
Okay.
never made it to the big. I did once, I guess, but I don't even remember it that
Yeah.
well. I must have been drunk.
I mean, yeah, if you had to, it's mandatory. If you go to Philly, you gotta go pick one. You gotta go make your decision. You gotta join Team A or Team B.
Yeah.
All right, we got Instagram or Tecate.
Instagram.
And now we have Netflix or Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada.
Airbnb or SpaceX. You like both of these.
I like both of them. I'd still go with SpaceX. I think what they're doing is transcendental.
For the love, for humanity.
For humanity, for the future of our race.
I mean, the sun's going to explode in a few million years. We need to start planning now.
Got to.
All right, SpaceX or tugging at your heartstrings, Sierra Nevada.
SpaceX, same thing. Just it's going to have a bigger impact on society and everything.
All right. For the beer guy, 3 out of the 4 were startups in the final 4. Just so you know. So you did have a startup bias.
I did.
Or maybe I should have picked better beers, but either way. Instagram or Square?
Square.
And finally, SpaceX or Square?
You know what? I'm going to go with Square just because of the impact they're going to have on people immediately. Maybe SpaceX will impact us all, 10, 20 years in the future, but Square is making a difference right now. And I'm not paid by them. I don't have any vested interest. I use them, and they're enabling all kinds of great things for us.
Squarespace takes the beers versus startup bracket. I always ask, what was the biggest omission on either side that you think that you were expecting to see, either a startup or a beer?
Biggest omission. I don't know. I didn't see any Stone Brewing beers on there.
Yeah.
It's a big home game advantage. I
That's
do
true.
drink their delicious IPA. I do love that one. It is delicious. And as far as the startup, no, I think you got the big ones. Those are the ones making a difference right now.
I have I've never been a huge drinker, just period, but I do like an occasional beer, but I have not developed a good palate yet. So when I find when I find a beer that I like, that I can order, that's why I'm like, I default to like the AleSmith when I am out at places, because I'm like, I had it, I enjoyed it, it's usually available at different places and I don't have to think too hard. That's why I go with, or like the stuff that I know. Or when I found the Jamaica beer at your place, that's what I always get there. So I am trying to learn more about beer and increase my
Well,
palate.
here's one for you. You did omit Duet from Alpine Brewing.
Okay.
It's widely considered like one of the most exclusive, delicious IPAs. I mean, they went out and sourced New Zealand hops called Nelson hops.
Okay.
And the flavor profile it imparts is juicy, pineapple, orange. I mean, very, very delicious. Duet.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Favela, again, a pleasure to have had a chance to talk to you finally for an extended amount of time. We learned a lot about your past, your upbringing. We didn't talk about your college years, although I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other stories there we probably glossed over because East Coast. But thank you for coming on. We look forward to knowing more about your projects and stuff upcoming. I'll be part of the festival selection committee with you, so hopefully we'll be able to spend some time. And I look forward to being able to talk to you about future projects coming up as well.
Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me to your program. I love your intros, by the way. They're phenomenal. And can't wish you the best. Let's talk more about how to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you heard it here first, folks. A live show, Mi Gente, at some point in the future. We got to figure out a good event, maybe like our 100th episode or something. We'll come down and hang out, and we'll get like a whole event going around there for the community in the barrier. Right? Excellent.
Right on.
David, thank you, man. I will keep in touch. You have a good rest of your evening. Peace out.
I will see you. Take care.
Later. All right, that was David Favela, founder, Border X Brewing in Barrio Logan. They have 3 breweries, 2 in San Diego, 1 in LA. Also, they have Mujeres Brew House as well here in San Diego. And he is now part of a startup project with here in San Diego where they're looking for 100 businesses to help them start on the ground. And I'll be live for a little bit. Sophia said she might be stopping by after she comes back. So shout out to Sophia if she's listening. I'm going to take a short break and then we'll come back, jump into some tabs, and we will do more Mi Gente show right after this quick break. If I can find my break. There it is. We'll be back in a second. Hey, now. I didn't know that was going to knock me back live. Well, that was an incredibly informative interview with David Favela from Border X Brewing. Let me just write down my timestamps here. 1:35, back from break. And I know I kind of shoehorned that in, but hopefully we get to do a live. That would be awesome to number one, have be more involved with that, because anything that is Latino owned, that is consciously going to, marginalized neighborhoods to open up breweries and is giving back to the community, employing Latinos, doing beers based on the culture, etc., and is also helping Latinas open up breweries and all these other ongoing projects that they have. I've always been a big fan. I was glad to meet him for a quick second. When I got to meet John Leguizamo, they had an event there, and I've kept them on the radar and always thought it would be a good company to be associated with, or to try to interact with more as part of what we're trying to do with Mi Gente show, which is reacting to news and culture from a Latinx perspective, Latino perspective, but also with 2 a.m. Burrito, what the company's trying to do, which is create stories. I mean, we're not just Hispanic, we are Black, Asian, female, and Latino, Chicano, and Hispanic owned, but we do want to be involved with telling stories of marginalized groups. It's what we've been associated with. It's what we are, and we're just trying to come out here and make good movies. It was a very cool bracket bit. We did beers versus startups, and we are trying to see if our co-host Miss Carrillo is going to be joining us, or if I'm going to have to do tabs by myself. All by myself. As you guys can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather, trying to push through. Went to the Iron Maiden concert Sunday night. That was life-altering. I had... I'm old, as you guys all know. So in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was a metalhead in Medellin, Colombia, and I had posters of Eddie all up in my bedroom wall, and I was getting physical albums of Iron Maiden, I was a big fan of specifically their first few albums, because that's all there was available right then. I'm not really familiar with anything that they've done over the last 20 years or so, but I was, in that time, a huge fan, and they were one of the biggest metal bands ever. Then my little brother was scared of Eddie. If you've seen Eddie, which is the monster that they use on all their posters, he's a scary dude, but the posters are fucking cool as hell. And my brother was scared of them. We ended up having to share a room, so my mom made me take them all down, and I think I ended up giving them all to my cousin or something. So ever since then, I was a metalhead, but I never... they went to Colombia a couple of times that I wasn't there, and I never really followed them again. After that, I got into hip-hop, mostly in the 90s when I moved to New York, and that was that. I still always was a big metal fan from the sidelines, some Metallica, Slayer. I'm a really big fan of the fake band Metalocalypse, Death Clock, which is a real band because they actually play real instruments, but they're a fake. And my friend, because I had curated the La Bestia movie, which is a movie about a couple of kids in Bogota that are trying to get to the Iron Maiden concert when they're in Colombia. And I invited him to see that, and I thought it was an interesting movie. And cut to 6 months later, and he tells me, "Hey, I got tickets to Iron Maiden. Do you want to come with me?" And I did, and it was a bucket list thing, because even though a lot of their music that they played is stuff that they've done over the last 15 years, so I wasn't really like the stuff that I grew up with, it was still... I still had a couple of, holy fucking shit, that's Iron fucking Maiden up there. And that was special, to put it mildly, for myself. So big thank you to the homie Enrique for hooking that up, which was a lifelong dream of mine. that I didn't really know I had. It was just when it came up, I was like, yeah, and then I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't go, and then I went, and it was incredible. So get out there and do more life events, people. Checking in to see if we have any response from our co-host. Let me see what happened here. All right. Live. All right, what can I get into right now? That would be interesting. So I'm going to just clear some of these tabs and stuff that we've been saving. And if Sophia comes on, we will do that. And if not, then we will save some of these tabs for next time. All right. Here's something I've been wanting to watch because it's something that I've contemplated doing at times, is moving to Japan and becoming a sumo wrestler. It is my dream. What's it like being Latin in Japan?
Like being Latino, Latina in Japan. Do you have any opinion, first of all?
I think it's 18 years that I was in Mexico. I was used to being with a lot of people, and I came to Japan and I was alone.
They have this image, like this really bad image about South America, which is kind of.
All right, hold on. Where in Japan is she? Because that's where I would like to go.
Sad.
Like what? Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi from Japan. Today I'm going to interview Latin people in Japan. What's it like being Latin in Japan? Previously, I made a video being black, being...
Also, what's also barking at? Hold on a second. I'm going to have to get loud with him. I asked him what he was barking at.
Asian in Japan. So this time I interview Latin people. What do Japanese people see them? The Latin community. So basically I interview them like what's it really like being Latin in Japan. And I also interview half Japanese, grew up in Peru. I asked him about his experience in life as a half Peruvian in Japan. Okay, let's find out today. On my channel, I interview Japanese people and foreigners in Japan. So it's the best channel for anyone who wants to come to Japan without traveling or living. And you can also learn
This is from
Japanese
June,
here.
so pretty
if you haven't
relevant.
subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. And on my Instagram, I show my daily.
You know what,
life in
Takashi? It doesn't cost anything for me to
Japan.
subscribe to your channel.
So if you
I am going to
haven't followed yet,
subscribe.
please follow it too. Okay, let's get started.
It could take months to finally see a therapist.
Ads? Oh, no. I'm cheap. I don't pay for YouTube ad-free. I'm sorry. We'll have to just mute them and skip it.
Where from?
I'm from Ecuador.
Ecuador?
Yeah, and my dad is Colombian.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been in Japan?
Japan, 1 year and a half.
1 year and a half.
Yeah.
It's official. I'm
What
moving
brought
to
you
Japan.
I wanted to study in fashion here and also do modeling here.
So you're a model?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe some acting?
Today, I'm going to ask you about the topic Latin people in Japan. You're Latina in Japan.
No,
Okay. So, what's it like? What's it like being Latina in Japan?
A lot of people don't know a lot about like South America, like about Latin people. They have this image, this really bad image about South America, which is kind of sad because
Like what?
that there's only like drugs and like crime there. It's not just that. And then when I tell them I'm from Ecuador, actually a lot of people don't know where Ecuador is, and they say like, "Oh, you're the first Ecuadorian person that I met," which is cool. I don't mind. I'm actually happy to be everybody's first Ecuadorian. But yeah, like I just want like more people to like know more about it. It's not just like a shit country with like drugs and crime. There's like more, you know. Just like as a girl, and when I tell like a Japanese person, like a man, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm South American, and then automatically they just sexualize me. They're just like, oh, you're from South America, you are so sexy, bro. I know, but like you chill. Like it's tiring when you're just getting like sexualized, because like yeah, we're pretty, but like we have more than that, you know. So it's kind of annoying.
Do you have any friends from Ecuador in Japan?
I have no friends from South America here.
You have foreign friends here, right?
Yeah.
But mostly like they're...
Usually like American or European. Yeah. But no, I haven't met anybody else from South America. But the good thing, I think like in Japan as a foreigner, people are actually like but they're like super sweet. Like they ask me a lot about my country, which is really nice. And I think it's cute when people try to speak Spanish to me. Sometimes I teach my friends and then they remember.
Oh,
Because I
really?
told you that sometimes I speak
Yo
Spanish
hablo
when I'm
español
comfortable
muy
with them, and
perfecto.
they're like, what does that mean? And then I teach them, so it's fun. And then I thought there wouldn't be any Latin food restaurants in Japan, but there actually is a lot. So it's really nice.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Really?
Thank you so much. Last question. You speak Japanese?
So there's Japanese women, and then there's also Latina women there, and there's also Latin food restaurants, apparently. Alexa, how much does it cost to move to Japan? Oh, $1 billion. Okay. All right. Let's put that on the back burner. All right. Let's see what else we got.
yes. I've been switching on and off.
Can you show your Japanese?
Okay. なんて言えばいいの？
じゃあ、でも1年しかいないし、まだ日本にいないですよね。
でもその前は一人でなんだっけ独学
はいはい。
2年ぐらいやってたの。で、日本に来て、そう一人で。
2年間はどうやってやってましたか、勉強を。
なんか、友達やっぱり日本人の友達が多いからなんか電話とかしてでそれで多分日本語
Right. Learning the Japanese is going to be a problem. So could I possibly get by just on Spanish and English?
喋れるようになったかもしれない。
なるほど。
But I think it's なんかスペイン語と日本語の発音は似てるからなんか意外と喋りやすかったの。
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your help. Where you're from?
Thank you.
Killing time till Sophia may or may not come back. If not, after I watch this, I'll probably just save the rest of the tabs for her.
I'm from Mexico.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been in Japan?
As you can
I've
see, I
been
have
here for 6
very many
years
tabs
total.
open.
6 years.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me do this real quick. So I can peruse the rest of these tabs and see which ones I'm going to save. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. All right.
To Japan.
I was interested in anime, and then I came to Japan for 1 year, and I love it. I totally love it. So after 1 year, I went back to Mexico, but I really wanted to come back to Japan because I was in love with this country. And I came back, and I've been here for 5 years.
What's it like being Latino in Japan? Do you have any opinion first of all?
It's kind of interesting because usually Latin people is really friendly, pretty close to people. We like body touch and stuff. We like hug, kiss.
That's my image.
Yes, right. And Japanese people is the opposite. They want to keep the distance, right? Because distance in Japan is something to respect, right? It means respect.
It means like being polite.
Exactly. So you have to respect that distance. And the first time I came to Japan, it was kind of hard. 18 years that I was in Mexico, I was used to being with a lot of people. And I came to Japan and I was alone. I didn't have friends. I didn't speak any Japanese. I didn't have something to do. So I kind of felt lonely for a long time. At the beginning, being a Latino here in Japan was hard, but the key is to learn Japanese and to get used to Japanese culture, but not forget your roots, right? That's the key.
All right. So step one, start learning Japanese. All right, guys. All right. I want to go to Japan. So let's see. I would like to start learning Japanese. And then, I mean, side quest, I'd be able to better understand Japanese porn, but that would just be like a bonus. But I absolutely want to go to Japan, and it'll be easier if I learn Japanese. So, all right, we're going to learn Japanese. Life goal added.
I see. And you have lots of Japanese friends. How did you do it? How did you make Japanese friends?
I learned that to make Japanese friends, first you have to learn Japanese. Because even if they speak a little bit of English, I think they will not open their hearts if you don't speak Japanese. They will not trust in you. They will not be very close to you. So learning Japanese and learning Japanese culture, how to respect people, how to have a good behavior in Japan. If you don't have that, it's gonna be a little bit hard to make friends. So it's my advice to everyone: if you really want to make Japanese friends and you really want to enjoy Japan, make your best in your Japanese skills.
Last question, do you speak Japanese?
Yeah, I actually speak Japanese, kind of fluently, I guess.
日本で何年目ぐらいから今のレベルになりました？
でも実際にもう問題なく不自由なく喋れるようになったのがもう本当に最近です。もう最近のことなんですけど、でそれはなぜかというと、友達は一応作れるんですけど、実際に日本会社に入ってみたら敬語も使えないし、漢字も書けないし、でそれで最近本当に漢字とか敬語とかにまた力入れ始めて、あ、まだまだだな。
How long did it take?
Okay, thank you for your time. Can you introduce your background?
That guy said everything except how long it took. How long does Alexa? Hey Siri. How long does it take to learn Japanese? Anywhere between 3 and 5 years. The average time for someone to become fluent in Japanese is anywhere between 3 and 5 years, which means if I start now, by the time I'm 50, I could be fluent in Japanese. I could be like 50. I look like a Colombian. I mean, I got the tattoos. I can finish up the sleeves. Could be Lukuza. I want to go to Japan. I would like to go to Japan. I'm sorry. I'm putting it out there. It's not a goal unless you say it out loud or write it down.
Sure. My name is Omar Minami. I am half Japanese, half Peruvian. I've been living in Japan for the last 18 years almost. You grew up in Peru, right? I grew up in Peru. So I lived in Peru for about 19 years. And I've been here for about 18 years. Okay. So what it's like being half Japanese, half Latino? Yeah, in Japan. In Japan. Yeah. So it's very interesting because I have a Japanese passport. I've been living in Japan, like I said, 18 years or so. But I mean, I don't look Japanese. I guess I get treated as a foreigner, right? I don't get treated as Japanese. Even though I would say this is my home now, because unlike many foreigners who come and go, I've been in Japan without going to Peru. Actually, last time I went to Peru was 18 years ago. I mean, yeah, I always feel like a foreigner. I don't really feel like half Japanese. I guess I feel more like a foreigner. I guess. What was the culture shock?
Is that because I guess there's got to be some sort of internal Japanese racism, right? Against because I know I've even seen that in I think one of the Fast and Furious movies and other movies where it's been like the half Japanese, half American girl or guy are always they're like the black sheep of the family, or they're part of the crime syndicate, but then they're not really they get the shit jobs or they're ostracized somehow. I think being half Japanese and not pure Japanese blood is looked upon. Even if you're Japanese Chinese or Japanese Korean or something like that. I think there might be some. So I'm guessing if you're Japanese Peruvian, it's even worse.
When you came to Japan, even though you're half Japanese, you grew up in Peru. Yeah, so I guess a culture shock for me has been here I feel like friendships are somewhat shallow. While in Latin America, friendships are like family. You're like really close friends. You share your problems. People really want to know what's going on in your life. So it's a little bit extreme. While in Japan, it's completely opposite, right? People, I have my own problems. You have your own problems. So I don't want to bother you, right? There's this culture of not wanting to bother others. There's this harmony in the office place or in the university or in the group, and you don't want to be the one that breaks the harmony. So then if you have a problem, you don't really talk about it, or if you have any particular thought about something, you don't really share it. So then if you don't share what you think, if you don't share your problems, basically if you don't share anything, it's hard to make deep connections with people, right? So then that's always been a bit of a culture shock for me.
the inability to make deep connections with a lot of people, which is why probably the majority of my friends end up being people that being raised abroad, right?
Thank you so much. Okay. Can you,
Yeah, no, so still want to go to Japan. Still want to learn Japanese. But it seems like it's really hard to, because I'm close to a shitload of people here. I got like burrito team, my filmmaking team, my roommates, my friends, my poker friends, you know what I mean? Like my fantasy football friends. So, maybe a summer house, Kyoto, something like that. But definitely Japan is a bucket list item for me. Bucket list items, since we talked about Iron Maiden, Japan, go to Europe again and appreciate it better. We'll add some as I go.
introduce yourself in Japanese?
Okay. In Japanese, 南尾丸と申します。マーケティングの仕事やってます。
これからも日本に住みますずっと。
多分これから日本に住むと思います。
ペルーに戻ることとかは考えなかった
ないと思うんですね。18年こっちに住んでて、家族もこっちに行って、そうだね。だから、あとスペイン語ちょっと忘れてる。
マジですか？
全然使わないから、この間初めてスペイン語での会議出たら、全然できたのできなくて。
ありがとうございます。
はい。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Okay, thank you for your time. Where from?
I'm from Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And how long have you been in Japan?
I have been in here, would be maybe 3 years. It's about
3 years?
Yeah, about 2-3 years.
How do you like life in Japan so far?
I love it.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it. To be honest, I don't know how I would feel if I go back to Mexico sometimes.
You're from Mexico, so I assume you're Latina in Japan, right?
Latina,
Right? So, first of all, like, what's it like, being Latina in Japan? As someone from Latin country, at the same time, as a woman,
Yeah.
right? Do you have any opinion, first of all?
To be honest, at the beginning, I tried to even change my English accent because I was ashamed of, my Spanish accent is coming out of whenever I try to speak in English as well.
Yeah.
And so I was ashamed of everything. Like, I didn't have a good job. I didn't have, like, anything to feel, like, more at home. But, eventually I realized that you cannot change yourself. You're just who you are.
Oh.
At the very end, I accepted myself as I'm Latina. I'm never going to be Japanese. It was kind of hard for me to accept myself in a way that I'm accepting me right now.
At some point, you have to change your behavior or your attitude in Japan, but at the same time, you need to be yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There something that you can't change, you shouldn't change, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like in general, do you have any Latino friends in Tokyo, or do you have like more Japanese friends or like Western friends, or
Yeah, I have more Japanese friends rather than Latinos
Really?
friends. Yeah, I would say so.
like did you try to make Japanese friends more, or just in general you ended up having?
Happened like that. So I think that my personality is more likely to hang out more with
Oh really?
Japanese rather than with my own Mexican friends, kind of thing. Yeah, that way. Recently, I have been hanging a lot with people from Spain as well.
So you have both friends, like
Bunch of Spaniards running around in Japan. You getting that colonization on? I don't know.
Japanese friends and foreign
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, I don't make any difference. It's not like, oh, I only want Japanese friends because I want to. It's not like that. I think that if somebody is just likely to just to think in that way of, oh, I only want to have Japanese friends, oh, I don't like people who can speak Spanish that way, you're not going to get to anywhere.
I see. Okay. Last question. Do you speak Japanese?
No.
No. You have Japanese friends, right?
Yeah.
you talk them in English? In Japanese? So you want to show your Japanese? No? Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Japanese is that bad?
No? No? Okay, thank you for your help. Where you from?
Hi, I'm from Peru.
I'm from Chile.
Chile.
Yes.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been in Japan?
I've been here for almost 3 years.
3 years. And?
I have been here only for 2 months.
2 months. So you just came here?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's it like being Latino, Latina in Japan? Do you have any opinion, first of all?
I think it's a very isolated group. So you have to find other Latinos. You have to go to specific places. The Latinos are everywhere in Japan, but only in the big cities. I think only in Tokyo, Yokohama, maybe Osaka. I think it's not such a big group. But usually, when I find Latinos in Japan, they're usually Peru and Brazil because of the Nikkei. There's a big Nikkei population in Peru and Brazil.
Like when I interview Japanese people of foreign countries, they have kind of knowledge of Europe or America or Asian countries because they see a lot in the media or movies or TV show. But when it comes to Latin countries, South America, like they don't have knowledge of it, including me actually. Yeah. What do you think? Do Japanese people don't know about Latin culture compared to like American culture or Asian culture?
Well, I think they don't know that we are more developed than they think, because a negative image of Latin America is that it's poor. And it's true. There's a lot of differences between the rich and the poor. Like the difference is huge. Usually, I think Japanese people have an image that Latin America is just poor.
Yeah, sometimes when they ask me what I do or something like that, and say like I'm an engineer, they're like, "Oh, you're an engineer!" Like, of course, there are engineers in Chile. So yeah.
Last question: Do you speak Japanese? Do you?
一応喋れます。
喋れます。じゃあどうやって日本語を学ばれました？
まあ番組なんかネットフリックスとか付き合って日本人と付き合ってるとか、まあそんな感じで、あと自分で勉強してる。
なるほど。セルフスタディ。
JLPT
そうなんですね。
に向けて、ほとんど独学。ありがとうございます。
Okay, thank you for watching so far. How was it? That was interesting. Me personally, actually, I don't have much knowledge.
So 3 to 5 years to get fluent. There is apparently some population, but only in the major cities. But Japanese people won't be real friends with you unless you learn how to speak Japanese. And even then, they don't like to share their feelings and spend a lot of distance. So I don't know if it would work as a fully move to Japan, but I do think that it will work as a bucket list. Go out there, try out for the sumo league. I'll be an outsider. I'll be laughed out of the building, but it'll be fun. And I've always wanted one of those big diaper underwear things. I think those are cool. Yeah, I've been getting into sumo. So pretty interesting so far. There's some cute Latinos out there too. So plus. And they don't have any guys to talk to, apparently. So, yeah, very interesting to see how he didn't really talk about how they were treated or anything like that. But the guy that was half Peruvian, half Japanese did say that he faced a lot of crap.
Latin culture or South America compared to like Europe or other Asian countries or America. But I would love to learn about it. So one of the interview mentioned that there are many Latin restaurants in Japan, especially in Tokyo. So I'm planning to make a video about this topic, what's it like owning Latin restaurant in Japan or Indian restaurant in Japan. I'm gonna ask the owner about the food culture and the customers and everything. So if you're on a foreign restaurant in Japan, in Tokyo, please contact me so I can interview you and then shoot the video of that restaurant. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, click like button. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any question that you want me to ask people in Japan, please leave a comment too. See you next time.
Black people in Japan, Japanese girls, racism in Japan, dating in Japan. All right, hold on. I don't know. We're thinking about moving to Japan. Mi Gente show goes to Japan. You know what'd be cool is to go there and shoot a movie in Japan. Latin in Japan is the one that we just watched. That first goes best. And all right. Interesting enough from Takashi in Japan. Just sub. Cool interview with Favela. All right, let me see if there's any others of these tabs that I want to knock out, and then I'll get out of everybody else's hair. I'm just gonna knock out the tabs that I can't do when Sophia's here. In 1400, the dog of a murdered man dueled a man and accused of being the murderer. This is an interesting story that I've had sitting around. So in France, a splendid duel was fought in 1400 between a suspected murderer and his accuser, a dog. The Chevalier Marquis killed Aubry de Montdidier in the forest of Bondy near Paris and buried the body. The witness was Montdidier's greyhound. They're not just for chasing rabbits anymore. The dog went back to town. This is like gives off that elephant that killed that white lady thing that was circling a couple of months back. The dog ran back to town to a friend of his master's and led the friend to the spot where he whined and scratched the ground. The body was recovered and reburied, and the greyhound moved in with the friend. Shortly thereafter, it met up with Macaire and attacked him viciously. Did he say I'm pulling up? Text me the address? Or did he already live close by? He just pulled up on him. The greyhound pulled up and attacked him viciously. 3 men had to pull it off him. The dog was an otherwise gentle and amiable sort, but it kept flying on at Macaire whenever it saw him. It was on sight between Macaire and the dog. This was reported to the king, who decided it was definitely an accusation for the single. It was an accusation and arranged for single combat trial. The fight took place on the Isle of Notre Dame in Paris. Macaire with a lance, the greyhound with its natural weapons. The dog sprang on the man with amazing ferocity and clamped its teeth around his throat and couldn't be shaken off. Macaire screamed that he'd confessed if they pull off the dog. This, in contemporary eyes, proved the justice of combat trials pretty conclusively, and Macaire was hanged and strangled on the gibbet at Montfaucon. That is, if I could only adapt one real life event to a movie, that would be it. This would be it right now. I know I want to do the movie about the 1950 World Cup, but this is sure. All right, so it looks like Sophia will be joining us for an anonymous way. Let me write down these timestamps so I can chop up this episode for the audio version. If you're catching part of the stream, thank you very much for tuning in. We had an interview with David Favela from Border X Brewing. Sophia was unavailable at the start of the show, so I ran it solo. And now I'm knocking out some tabs, killing some time, because she should be jumping on for anonymous. I'm messaging her that right now. See if she gets here. Cool. She's gonna pee and then hop onto her phone. All right. So yeah, definitely. I would adapt this to San Diego. The dog would be a pit bull. And it would be an underground fighting ring or something. But this is in 1400. This is like the first place I'd go to if I had a time machine right now. This is really cool. Okay, let's see. What else can we do? This was something that's relevant today. Lara Trump making her son, who was crying, Like she's on this little kid sitting there crying during a hurricane. I mean, not that we should be laughing at this kid who's crying, but this lady like takes him out in a hurricane, gets him wet, and then this is the video of her when she was like relaxing and her kids like screaming at her. So interesting to say the least. I did start watching Blonde. It is really cringy. It is I think my friend Rosa had the best. And it was a movie about she said it was a movie about the exploitation of Marilyn Monroe told by exploiting Ana de Armas. And you guys know that Ana de Armas is like number one right now for me in like the universe. You know, in the early 90s it was Winona Ryder, then you know, what was her name from there was somebody at some point. Oh, there she is. Only 2 hours and 15 minutes late.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, you know, as my little picture, it's my little doggo. I had to take her to the vet. Did you tell everybody? How'd it go?
I did. No, yeah, I opened up. I told everybody that we were sending positive thoughts Cookie's way as she's getting old.
Yeah.
She's 14, right?
14, yeah. She had to stay overnight, so
Okay.
I'll update you.
Yeah, you give me an update after.
Yeah.
No, I was just killing a little bit of time with some of these
Ana
topical.
de Armas? Uh-huh.
No, Rosa's review of Blonde, which was it was the a story about the exploitation of Marilyn Monroe, told by exploiting Ana de Armas.
Oh.
And I was just telling everybody, I tried to watch it and I got about halfway through and it is just like, and you know how much I love Ana de Armas. She's like number one for
Yeah.
me. I mean, she was like what Winona Ryder was to me in the 90s, or you know, there's always one. There's always the one that's in the lead, you know, that's always your top person, you know.
Yeah.
So even for somebody who loves her as much as I do, and her performance is incredible, but the situations that they put her in and just like the it's just very cringy and it's very like male gazy and it's very like it is weird, man.
Whoa.
It's weird what they went. And then this thread that I was watching, and I'll save it for us, but it's basically debunking a lot of the things from the movie, and stuff like that.
As in like inaccuracies or?
Well, it's based on a fictionalized novel, but then there's we can get into it next week, but there's like
Okay.
a bunch of stuff in there like they just made it seem like she was just like never happy, and they said that her mom tried to drown her. They filmed like the suicide scene in the same room where she died.
Oh my God.
So
That is cringe. No.
there's like some abortion scenes. There's like we're hearing like the baby's voice. It's just there's some weird choices. She's calling all the guys in her life daddy, and it's just very like
Oh no. So
yeah.
the worst choices were made then.
No, yeah, it's oh god, and it's like it's supposed to be like titillating, and it's supposed to be like the NC-17 Marilyn Monroe, but then you're like, oh god, I don't want to feel titillated about these situations, you know. It
Yeah.
feels like it feels like a movie that like if it would have been like in the 90s, you'd be like, oh, you know, it's like a hardcore movie, but today it just feels exploitive. It feels bad.
Oh.
So I was gonna save this till I'll save this for the next one. We watched the interview with David was incredible. He said you can go back and watch it. We
That's awesome.
Yeah, he said we could do a live show there, like when we have like a
Ooh,
big episode or something. So
yes, absolutely. That would be amazing. I'm so sad I missed it. I wanted to talk to him and meet him and everything.
well, you should go back watch because we talked a lot about
Oh, I will.
the company and stuff like that. So I'll save this for next week. Then there was we watched the Laura Trump video here. That was the last thing that I was doing, which is she posted a video of her son like crying in the hurricane.
What the fuck?
Just like, oh look, I'm crying. Oh.
Yeah.
He said it was
Oh.
but then she also had posted this video of herself relaxing with like her baby, like
Oh my God. Jeez.
her baby's crying next to her as she's having a
A
bottle
glass
of
of
wine.
wine. Who is
with her-
this?
Laura Trump.
Laura Trump. And what is she to Trump?
I don't know. I think she's like a sister or she's a cousin or something. She's a Trump, so she has to be
Ew.
something,
Yeah.
So yeah. So she was kind of gross.
Ew.
Yeah, that's good. And then this, okay, did you hear this before you got on? No, this is I already did this, but in 1400 there was a guy got killed and his dog saw it, and his dog went back into town, got somebody, went back to where he buried the body, and then every time he would see that guy, it would just be on site and he would start trying to attack him.
Oh
So
my
they had arranged a trial by a duel.
Combat. A duel. Yes.
A dog and a guy had a duel. The guy had a spear, and then the dog chomped his teeth around his throat and couldn't be shaken off. And then the dude said he would confess if they would pull the dog off. So then, since he confessed, they hanged him.
Oh my God. Is this serious? This
Yeah.
can't be serious.
This is 1400. The dog of a murdered man dueled a man and accused of being the murderer.
Fuck yeah. My dogs would never. Would you, honey? Would you do that?
How are they
But-
reacting to Cookie not being around? Are they acting weird?
Yeah, they're acting a little weird. Well, honey, because I came in with the towel that I had wrapped her in. And when I came in and like dropped it down, she was kind of like looking for her, like where'd she go? Where is she? And she sniffed the towel and she just like ran out and was like, where the fuck is she? And then she came back all tripping out. But now it seems like they're,
A lot of people don't
calmer.
know a lot about.
No, so we found out that this girl's in Japan, so we're moving there. Yeah.
I need to see. I'm gonna need to rewatch that. I tuned in right when this is happening, but like
Yeah,
at the
this
end.
is there's hot Latinas in Japan now, so
Oh
we
my
got
God.
we should go explore those avenues.
That sounds amazing. Let's do it. Yes.
Let's
I'm
yeah,
very single.
let's do that. Yes.
Yes.
All
All right. Shall we get into the anonymous ways?
Yes. Let me
How many
pull
do we
them.
have today?
Just two.
Okay.
Oh, here I'll share this with you. There's a Mana de San Diego. I'll send this to you, but a Latina friendly workplace nomination form. So if anybody has a nominee of a company that is providing a Latina friendly workplace environment, I'm going to put the link in our comment section. You can nominate them for an award or something or some
Oh, that's
recognition.
awesome.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
going to be I'll also save that for next week, but also send it.
Casa del Taco.
Hey, all you
Yeah.
got to do is submit.
There you
All
go.
right. So we have two responses to Nanama's Way today.
All right.
All right. And let me get our logo here.
Yeah.
Now it's time for
No Names Way.
No Names Way. No Names.
All right. Today's first question comes to us from, hold on a second here.
All right.
Memory Saver. Memory Saver writes. Let me just get a little sip of water here before
Yeah. Get into it.
because I've been
No
a little bit
names.
under the weather.
Yeah, how are you feeling actually? You sound a little sniffly.
Yeah, I'm just a little stuffed up. It's just been like congested and mocoso all day. So
Oh.
I've stopped fighting it because every time I blow my nose, more is there. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Hey, but Iron Maiden must have been worth it.
Yeah, it was. We were talking about that before. It was a bucket list item. I've been a fan since I was a little kid, and So getting to
Yeah.
see them was like fucking amazing. All
It
right,
looked amazing.
here we go.
Okay.
Recently moved in with my longtime girlfriend into a new apartment. She was living with roommates, and I was living in a studio alone. And some compromises had to be made about which of our personal items we could keep displayed,
Mhm.
which we should throw away, and which we would put in our small storage area that came with the apartment.
Mm.
I have some silly things from my youth, like a spelling bee trophy from the 4th through 6th grade, and some class pictures that I have on my shelves. Since I moved around a lot as a kid, this was a fun time. I always like to have it up.
Hmm.
I started to put them up, and my girlfriend was like, "Wait, you're not putting that up, are you? It's a shared space."
Uh.
It was cruel. I thought it was cruel of her to say that, but it's our shared space. She, however, has tons of old vinyl albums, which I have never ever seen her use, but she demands we keep those in the living room because they're cool.
Mm.
When I said this, she said, "Well, I might feel like playing them, and I don't want them in storage." Well, bitch, I might like to recall my fun days before I met your toxic ass.
It does not say that. Was that you?
No, I don't think they actually said that,
Yeah.
but it does say that.
That's what he was thinking.
That's what he was thinking. I may have made a mistake. Any advice on shared spaces with my future ex?
Oh.
Oh, God, he is really
Did
taking this personally.
he really say my future ex?
Yeah. Any
Oh, that's
advice
amazing.
on sharing space with my future ex?
Oh, fuck. Fuck. That is hard. Well, first of all, I'd like to validate your feelings because that's so messed up. I mean, if you have something that is of emotional value and
Yeah.
then your loved one is just saying, "Wow, are you gonna put that up?" No. That is so
Yeah.
messed up. I wouldn't do that. That's mean.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody with a lot of stuff, as you
Mhm.
can see just from the background of my shot, which and what I have up in my background is probably a 1/18th of the total amount of stuff like that I have.
Mhm.
So if I move in with a future ex or something at some point, I know that there would be compromises that would need to be made, and I recognize that a bunch of the stuff I have might be superfluous or that doesn't have to be prominently displayed.
Mhm.
But I like to rotate the stuff in my background, and I have a lot of stuff that means stuff to me. So I don't know. I would feel attacked as well.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that her saying it's a shared space, but then wanting to keep her records out. I mean, is she too concerned about people coming over? And because that's a conversation starter. It's like, hey, that's my 4th grade spelling bee trophy. What the? It's funny. It's corny. It's like
Yeah.
niche. It's like, right?
Yeah. I truthfully don't know how you would mediate this. I think like cuz here's the thing. I think that a lot of girls when it comes to like when they get their own place and they want to decorate it, it's kind of like you want to make it as pretty and as like I don't know, aesthetically pleasing as possible, whether that's emotional items or not. Um but regardless, whatever your aesthetic is, I feel like if you're moving in with someone that you love, you need to make compromises as well. And it sounds like you're compromising everything and she's not. She's getting to keep her stuff because she thinks it's prettier. Maybe it is. But I don't know. I feel like it'd be good for you to like count items, if that makes sense. So like, okay, she has her vinyls. That means that it's your turn. You get one thing.
Hmm.
And then it's her turn again. She gets another thing. And then you get to agree upon where it will be, but she can't straight up just tell you no and shut you down. I feel like that's really messed up and it's not equal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only other thing I can see there is if they are like super like artsy, like artsy types or something, and they just like,
Mhm.
oh, we just want like a minimalist space or a feng shui space, or you know what I mean. Like if you're going
Yeah.
for a specific look in your house, but those are usually couples that are on the same vibe, where they're
Yeah.
like the couple is a minimalist couple, or they're a hippie couple, or they're a hipster couple. It seems like you and your girlfriend are probably a little bit different from each other. So my compromise, if I move in, if you know, if I move in with my current situation, or
Yeah.
with my current future ex, it would be that I would have that I need an office, and
Mhm.
that would be my compromise. If you have like an office, or if you have a den, where it's your room where you can put up whatever the fuck you want, you know, and that would be the other compromise too, if she's a freak or if you guys have a specific design type for the rest of your house.
Yeah.
You know. But if it's an apartment, you probably don't have that big of a space. So
yeah.
I think you do a draft. You say we each get to keep 5 things out because we have a small space, and you each pick 5 things, and you go about your day.
Yeah. You can either share your decorative preferences in each space. So, you know, 1 item yours, 1 item hers. Or you can do what Lou is saying, and even if you don't have a den or an office, a corner, a wall.
Yeah.
Like, this is my wall. That
Yeah.
is your wall.
I
This
mean,
is my corner,
yeah,
etc.
you could like make it I would make it like a toilet paper holder in the bathroom or something, you know what I mean? Or put it on the back of the toilet. If anything, it's like, fuck you. I'm keeping my fucking spelling bee trophy up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Fuck all that.
I don't think that you're wrong at all to feel this way. I feel like you should send her this clip and, ma'am, please reconsider and be a better girlfriend, because that's mean.
Thank you. I think probably he's pretty confident that she doesn't listen, or else she would probably recognize it right away. Like, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
Look, if you're not even listening to the same podcast, then there's already some issues there. Right?
yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's
You're
fine.
dating the wrong person.
You're the wrong girl. All right.
Yeah.
So thank you for submitting. All right. Let me see. Let me go back to the names here. The next one is cute girl, cute meat, horribly wrong. All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. Okay. The question says, I see the same girl at my local coffee place at lunchtime. I get coffee for my team midday, and she is always there with a coffee and a croissant.
Oh.
One time we locked eyes and I blurted out, croissant time, huh?
Great pickup line.
She shrugged. I considered quitting and moving away in shame. Is there any way to fix a first impression that went horribly wrong? Any good ideas on what a good secondary opening line would be to fix it? Desperate.
Oh, man. Huh. Okay. Well, that's so hard because she's a stranger.
Yeah,
so
it's like, what's your opening line? You see a girl with a croissant. What's your opening line?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And it's so foreign to me because I could have the biggest crush on this waitress or something. I wouldn't have the guts to like go up, even say croissant time, huh? Like, I don't know.
Croissant time.
I think you did great. I think if she liked you, she would have probably been like charmed by it. I don't know. So I would shoot your shot.
Croissants, am I right?
Yeah, I know, right? She works there, right? This girl, or she just goes there?
No, he says he sees her there with a coffee and a croissant all the time. So I'm assuming that's her spot.
My go-to that I have done before is a note. And then you just leave with your number, because then you're giving them the option. So girls hate when guys that we don't want come up to us and say, hey, can I buy you a drink? Like an opener that forces us to be polite. And then they think that we're hitting on them or something like that, or we're reciprocating.
Right.
Just don't put her on the spot and don't ruin the spot for her. So what I would do is leave her a note, say, hey, I think you're really pretty, blah, 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 whatever, like something, genuine. Keep it short and give her your number. Like, here's my number if you're interested at all, blah, blah, blah. If not, no worries. And then move on with your life. And if she doesn't call, she doesn't call. But ball's on her court at that point.
See,
that's what I would like.
I think it says a lot about you. What contact info, like number is classic. Here's my number,
Right.
But like if somebody's like, if somebody gives you like their Instagram handle, then you're just like, wait a minute, that's like a red flag right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they give you an email, then they're psychotic.
I feel like that's I'm like, is this a workplace?
That's definitely like that's definitely a psychotic situation there if they give you their email. So so I would be kind of make sure you don't mess that part up. Listen, one time I was infatuated with this girl that worked at the 7-Eleven, and I would walk in and she would be listening to NPR, And so I started listening to NPR, and I was like trying to make small talk with her, and then she was just like, "No, go away."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." So the key, as with sexual harassment, is to be somebody that the girl likes, because that is going to
Yeah.
be the key denominator. There is,
Yeah.
if she's not into you already, or if she doesn't find you pleasing to the eyeballs, it's not gonna be good. Unless you are incredibly charming when you open up your line. Also, there's also the thing of maybe just don't, unless I mean, unless you gotta basically, the only way is for it to happen organically is for you to just keep going there, just nod, say, you got to start with the nod and acknowledging that, oh, I see you here all the time. Hey, is
Mhm.
and then you could then maybe just do a different version of the croissant line every time, just,
Yeah.
hey, croissants, am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just try to give her like a croissant high five. You'd be like, yeah, team croissant. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
That's actually good advice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the only way it's gonna work naturally, is just try to be silly and just keep seeing her, and then one day, like, you're in line with her, or you're just sitting there, or you see she just got there, or she's getting up. He's like, hey, I see you here all the time, and I just wanted to see if maybe sometime you'd like to get a croissant together or something.
Yeah.
I know this other place.
Ooh.
Or he's like, do you only eat croissants? Because I know a great scone place.
Oh my God. I'm sure that'll work. Yep.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, I don't know, this is like, well, I would just say like lie. Hold on. Hear me out.
Lie. Okay.
The way that you said, because no, that you just okay. You just gave me an idea. Because there's a direct way, which is the one that I gave, right? It's like just straight up send her a note, balls in her court, let her choose. But some girls love to, like, whatever. I don't know. They play games, whatever. Anyway, the slower burn would be what Lou said. Just keep going. Exposure, exposure. Don't even necessarily act interested. Just the nod and the smile, whatever. But where the light comes in is one day, forget your charger, or I don't know, need something, and then go up to her and be like, hey, like, I see you here all the time. I'm so sorry. I need a charger, or like a laptop, whatever, something. And from that opener, if she's interested, I guarantee you will get eyes. You will be like, oh, please sit down. I don't know, something like, I don't know, make conversation. You will catch a vibe. If she's straight up just like, oh, I don't have one, like, go away. Or like, here, you can use it, but like give it back or whatever, but like go to your corner.
Or keep this one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Here, keep it. Yeah, something like that. Like just an opener where it's like, I need to borrow something. I see you here all the time. And maybe something a little flirtatious, but I don't know. What would be a good secondary opener right there, so that he can catch a vibe?
Yeah, that, like I said, probably the, like, so, are you like on an all croissant diet? Do you ever, are you like against scones or something? Like, just try to be silly and just try to just see if she will venture to give you information about other parts of her, because all is she likes coffee and croissants.
Yeah.
That does she, what, you got to try to get an idea of something else about her.
Yeah. And she needs to, and if she reciprocates, she won't want that conversation to end. Trust me. Like, if you ask her, oh, like, is the croissant here good? I see you get it all the time, or something like that. I'll be like, oh yeah, but you should try it sometime. What do you normally get? Like, she'll ask a reciprocal question. She'll show interest.
You got to just, you got to put it out there, see what the vibe is. That's kind of my philosophy. You meet somebody, you put the vibe out there, and then you see it. And if not, then you just like, hey, you get to know them. Maybe you become friends, maybe not. It just happens. You can't get all butthurt because it's just trying to see. You got to match. You're gonna go through a bunch of like no's, and eventually you'll find somebody that you vibe with.
Yeah, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And listen, like, if you vibe and this works out, then hey, that's great. But remember, she does not owe you anything. If she doesn't like you, it's okay. Take the L, walk away. You're good, buddy.
Listen, or you could go like ultra aggressive, which is like, listen, one day I'm going to tell our grandkids how the first time I met you, I said croissant time, and how I said to myself, I'm going to marry that woman.
That's what they're going to be talking about in our wedding speeches. Croissant time.
when on our 60th wedding anniversary, it all started with a croissant.
Oh my God, I love it. This is a love story for the ages. I hope it works out. I really do.
Yeah, but don't be creepy. Just say
Yeah.
hi, see if she matches your eye contact, and then try to find a time to just have a couple of words or find something that
Mhm.
you need, and then just take it from there.
Yeah, exactly. And
Or
by the way, on the
maybe
two
like
different
ask for the Wi-Fi password or something.
yeah, something like that. I don't know. If you're gonna go with the direct, I will say, if you're gonna go with the direct, send her a note, like let her know how you feel, and give her the option. Don't also do the indirect way. Don't do both. That's just too much. Choose one lane and stick to it. So if you're
Stick
gonna
to
do
it.
the indirect, stick to it. Don't ever send her a note.
Yeah, stick to it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Sophia.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I came in even for a little segment, but I will be
Yeah.
back full force next Wednesday, I promise.
I will I'll probably just end up cutting from the end of the interview to when you came on, and then for the audio version, because I think it was just me goofing off for a while.
Okay.
So thank you for everybody that listened. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. We'll be back live next Wednesday next week. And we will, because you have surgery, right?
An endoscopy. I think that's when they put the fucking, what is that? The little thing in your stomach, the camera.
Oh,
They're gonna
okay.
numb me. They're gonna knock me out, guys.
Okay. And I gotta actually check my schedule because, well, actually, I'm getting dental surgery, but it's gonna be on a Friday, so I should be good for the following week after that. Because I'm getting,
Okay.
so yeah, I scheduled
Cool.
it on a Friday for work and other stuff. So because I'm not gonna come on and talk like this,
Or do for 3 hours.
with like a numb ass mouth. No, my advice would be to meet cute again, and why don't you bring her your own? Okay, like bring her your mom's croissant. He's like, I know you like the croissants here, but my mom made this one for you.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
smooth.
I know. Smooth.
Smooth.
All right, guys. Peace out.
Yeah. Adiós. Hasta luego.
All right.